Walk with me through the cellar door.
A storm is coming, Francis.
A portal to a more skeptical world.
Cellar Door Skeptics begins right now. Prepare for the revolution with your hosts, Christopher Tanner and Chris Hanna.
Welcome back to Cellar Door Skeptics. Thank you so much for sticking around. It's a brand new year now, and this is our 13th episode. So this episode not only will be special because we have special guests joining us for the whole fucking episode, and not ones that will just kind of mumble on. We got very opinionated podcast hosts that will be joining us in the next few minutes. But I wanted to open the new year up by saying thank you guys and girls so much for joining us. Thank you for sticking us around. Thank you for giving us so much attention, if you want to call it that, and for bringing us into the new year with another reason to continue talking out of our asses, and sometimes intelligently, depending on how much Hannah has the input into the show here. And I just wanted to start off and make sure everybody understood how grateful we were for them listening to us drone on for an hour to 2 hours every week. And when we started this and we moved away from atheist analysis, we wanted to bring you something different. We wanted to do a whole different type of a show. But the one thing I missed is the interviews. Atheist Analysis was known for its interviews. That's how we started off. We're just an interview show. I used to book the guests. Johnny used to interview them, and then we're like, hey, let's branch out. Then we got into debates. But the interviews were the staple. But what we never did is bring an interviewee on, interview them, and then invite them to stay for the whole fucking show. So you're getting a brand new taste of something nobody else has ever heard before in terms of radio podcast. Oh, they probably have. So we're not that ingenious. But you're going to hear it for the first time on Cellar Door Skeptics. But I wanted to bring on my illustrious host, the one, the only, the Mr. Hannatastic. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing awesome, man. I've had a couple days off myself. You were talking about how you had a few days to just kind of bask in the glow of non-workingness and some fuzzy chemicals. I'm back from like driving all over the state, and I'm home and relaxing. It's so nice, but tomorrow starts up the grind again.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? For me, it doesn't. I took the whole next week off, too. So I got all next week off, and, you know, I guess this is in the past, you know, so this is in the past I had a week off. But I don't have to go back to the grind like you do. I get to spend some time with my family. I haven't had a vacation in a whole 2 years, so this is kind of the first vacation I actually get.
That's not too bad. 2 years? There you go. Yeah, you deserve a couple days off.
Yeah.
Well, with my small company that my father and I run, I get a short week this week. Like last week was a short week for the Christmas holiday and stuff. So it's going to be just another halfway decent one. And it's my anniversary, first anniversary on New Year's. So I got a big fancy we're going to be at the Amway Grand Plaza in Grand Rapids, the nice place downtown. The Van Andel DeVos family, the Republican monster
monstrosity.
They're going to be getting some of our money for the weekend, but that's where all the big parties are for Grand Rapids New Year's. They have a big ball drop. I don't even know if they're doing a big one this year or not downtown, but they usually have some cool stuff going on. So we're going to see and experience all the fun that downtown GR has to offer.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I wish I had the money to do that. But instead, we're going to get to hang out at the home, and I'll probably record some side segments for some of the future Cellar Door Skeptics. And I'll spend a lot of time beating my kids at board games because
I'm so glad you went to board games after you finished beating my kids, because I thought you were going seriously off in the left in there.
No, I'm not going that far. But no, we play a lot of board games. It's kind of something, it's really weird because we used to play board games as kids when I was growing up, but it was never a thing. Once I turned 18, I was like, why the fuck would I play board games? There's alcohol, women, sex, drugs, parties, and then you get older and you have kids, you're like, I can't do any of that shit anymore. And then you can't keep up with it. I mean, I'm 32, or I'll be 32 this year. I can't even keep up with some of this stuff that goes on. I just don't have enough fucking energy to do all of what I did when I was, 18, 19 years old. But I enjoy board games. I discovered them. There's a whole group in Grand Rapids, Michigan, of atheists that get together and play board games.
Well, we had Jeff D on the show. He was a Dungeons & Dragons type stuff all the time.
That's why we had him on that show. Just so you know. Because he was one of the first people that when I started looking into board games, I got in touch with him, and he's like, well, hey, you know what I do for a living, by the way. And he shilled himself, and we bought a couple of his games. But the best part is that I could take my boys to these atheist groups, and nobody talks about religion. It's just kind of we play Cards Against Humanity with my 12-year-old sons, for fuck's sake. So the type of atmosphere that is around is awesome. It's just very God damn it. It's just very great to see my kids being able to participate in something I enjoyed with doing as a kid with other people.
That's something that I got to figure out something that my little girl is gonna like, because I don't have that like. Do your daughters do the same kind of card games and board games and stuff, or is that just sons?
They're not as into it. They are into art. I have two little artists, and so we color and do pictures, and they do my toenails and my fingernails, and I know it's not gay, and if it was, who gives a shit, right?
Yeah, no, you can paint that shit all day long. I ain't gonna laugh at it. I'm just gonna point at the colors and be like, oh, they missed a spot. Because Jen,
I got blue.
One of our guests on tonight, she was saying that if they put like her nail polish is a little bit wrong, she goes all like Genghis Khan on her.
So, well, let's not spend too much time talking about ourselves. I mean, I know that's what we do best, and we want to make sure everybody sticks around for the whole show, because we're going to have an interview, and I won't tell you the podcast name until about 2 seconds, with a awesome podcast. Then we are going to talk about voting manipulation and gerrymandering. We're going to do a segment called fucking fracking, and then we're going to end with some discussion, a little lighthearted discussion about a two-party system and where we should vote, or if we should vote with our hearts. And without any further ado, I want to introduce a podcast, some podcast that Mr. Hanna brought to my attention. I think it was last April, a podcast that will come to you, and they describe themselves as this: the world needs the voices of everyone to rise up and say, hey, I fucking disagree. All too often, we allow others to give a generalized message that doesn't actually encompass the fine details of how we feel. That more or less is why these two fucking loudmouths put their heads together and their computers and brought to you an awesome podcast. Please welcome to the show, Miss now, Jen, and Mr. Keith from Not Another Atheist Podcast. How are you all doing tonight?
Absolutely fantastic. How are you?
Jesus Christ. Jen, was it you or I who wrote that shitty little intro piece? God damn.
I didn't write that shit. There's nowhere near enough F-bombs for that.
God, fuck. See, I'm sitting here.
You leave that stuff on the internet, man. People like us will find it.
Fuck.
We do.
Well,
it's right on your website.
I know.
Yeah, that goes to show you just how fucking invested I am in this podcast, right? Keith, you wrote that shit?
God damn. Yeah, I'm going to go right ahead.
This is why you let the writer write things. This is why you don't write, I do.
I feel like we just pulled someone's middle school bio out and we just tossed it up as part of a major.
Is this my yearbook quote? What the fuck?
Oh, fuck.
So everybody, just a little background. Chris Hanna actually found this small podcast right around the time they started. And honestly, I didn't go back and look at the date of when you guys officially started, but
I can't even fucking tell you the date when we started.
All right, well, good. I don't feel bad then. See, I'm not a bad host. But Chris Hanna went and found these two lovely individuals and brought it to our attention, and he had them on his show, Heretical Minds, and then I got into their podcast. Then they had us on last month, and they were like, well, we really like you guys. And I was like, yeah, our chemistry works really well. So we thought, why the fuck not bring them back on? See where it goes, what happens. The whole point of podcasting, right, is to be able to do what the fuck you want. I don't have a corporate sponsor. I don't get anybody telling me what the fuck I got to do. So I can bring whoever the hell I want on. And I got a Canadian on, and we're going to talk hockey.
Wait,
so yeah, I love fucking hockey.
Are podcasters the new hippies?
We kind of are.
Oh, fuck.
We're the hipsters.
Man.
That's where we're
Don't
headed.
ever fucking, if you call me a hipster, I will fucking walk to Michigan and insert a fucking giant black double-sided dildo up your ass. Don't ever call me a hipster.
All right, then you are officially a hipster. Challenge accepted.
Well, you do realize that double-sided means that someone's going to be on the other end of it, right?
Me. It will be me, because that is the only action I have been getting and will be getting. It will be me.
But you're recently divorced, though, and we don't have to focus on that because that's not who you are.
let's
But
not.
I'm recently divorced, but I live in Tennessee.
well,
You know, it's like,
do you like country music?
no, I fucking hate country music. I hate the Confederate flag, and I don't like to sleep with people who fuck their family members. So I'm really in like a no man's land out
Wow,
here.
we just completely alienated all of Bill O'Reilly's fan base.
Bill
But-
I'm
O'Reilly,
sorry.
Jeb
I
Bush.
actually, okay,
goddamn.
no. This let me explain to you what I'm dealing with here. I went on a date with a guy who was kind of really fucking Christian and really Southern, and he tells me on a first date that he needs to convert me because if this really works out, and he can't really love me unless he knows he'll see me in heaven after we die.
God damn it! I'm dating a Catholic, and not even she's that batshit insane.
I was like,
That's because
I'm
you're
not dating
Canadian.
anymore.
It's a Canadian.
I was like, I'm not fucking dating anymore. I'm just not. After that was it. That was it for me. And he had this morbid obsession of knowing if I slept with a black man.
It's because he's racist.
Yeah.
I will say this. That is the most open conversation on a first date I have ever heard of. I mean,
No,
you got
I'm out there. You guys, especially if you listen to our podcast, you know I really don't give a shit.
Which,
about
you
what
know,
I say.
Tanner has, because unlike my host here, she doesn't do any research. Tanner does.
Fair
well,
enough.
Tanner got hosed in when we were on your show though, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Hey,
What are you
did
talking
look-"
about? He had a great time.
And he was like, "Oh, I didn't." Yeah, no.
I
Well,
did
but, like,
listen to
even
your
for
show,
me,
but not
that
all
was-
of them.
Even for me, that was kind of like a step over the line. He was like,
So,
he looked
Jen-
me dead in the face and was like, "Have you ever fucked a black dude?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, "And if I did?" He's like, "Well, I don't know if I can sleep with you then." I'm like, "Well, thanks for dinner."
Well, yeah, it's because he's worried about his little peckerwood going down, being like a little Vienna sausage in a grand hallway.
And what does that say about me?
You do
What are you
understand
trying
that,
to-
that
Wait,
that's
wait, wait,
illogical.
wait, no. What are you
You
trying
shut
to
your
say?
whore mouth.
What are you trying to say here, Keith? That I have the vast unknown of fucking vaginas? Is this what you're saying right
Look,
now?
all I'm trying to say is that if anybody listens to episode 16, Black Dick Matters, they'll know the answer to this question. Did
No,
Jen
but
sleep with a black
you make it sound like trying to fuck me is like trying to fuck, the lands in Hanoi.
I
mean,
never
what
said
the
shit
fuck?
like that.
I actually kind of
hello.
agree with her on this one, Keith. You're kind of you did make a very aggressive version right there. Just
All I said is that he's trying to find out if that's what he's up against because he's that insecure. I mean,
But you
let's
do
face it.
But fair enough. Hold on. But you do understand, though, Keith. Technically speaking, that
Technically, it's an argument from idiots.
we can debunk the big dick makes big vagina. Therefore, we can debunk that whole thing. That's a horribly sexist. See, you can do the jack off motion all you want. I can see you, so you can't hide.
And I will
your
tell you right now, I'm
interactions.
fearful to have sex again because I'm seriously afraid it's going to be like de-virginizing me again. Like I'm that afraid. I am like this afraid of this now. Now I'm at the point now where I'm like, you know what? I don't even know how I want to do this.
This is the moment where you snap.
It
this
might
is
look
the
a little bit
moment
like
where-
this.
Nobody can, hey, we're on radio. Nobody can see that, Keith. That's,
Yeah,
but you
gotta
can,
use your
that's what
fucking
matters.
words. Use your fucking words, Keith. Use your
It's
words.
been so long
Hang on,
that
let's
I'm
see if I
like,
can record the
I don't
sound of this.
think I want to do this again. I'm like,
Oh,
I
sorry,
don't. And you know what? I'm divorced
Stop.
now. I can talk all the shit I want. I'm divorced. I can talk all the shit I want.
Do it.
It's the last man I slept with really didn't do a lot of work in the stretching department. So
Silence, dead silence. Because yes, that is the
After-
reaction that three dudes have when we hear
after
that.
him and then not sleeping with anyone for a while, I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore. You know what? No, I just give up now.
Shrinky dinks.
I think there's
That
a
would be
song.
that would be a kind way of describing it. Yes.
So for those who just joined us, this is a episode with Not Another Atheist Podcast, and we have Jen and Keith joining us. So let's move off Jen's sex life or absence
Lack
of
of
sex
one.
life, and let's
Perpetual
move
lack
into
thereof.
some of the origins of how you guys met. And on your website, and that's serious. So everybody that's watching this, or I'm sorry, listening to this, go to the links in the description. You can find their webpage, and I'll post it so everybody can go to it. It literally says for the description of how they met on the internet. Like you just, it's
That's
just
it.
literally-
That's it.
It doesn't, or no. It doesn't. It's insane. Like you have a whole page dedicated to this. Oh, sorry. It says Facebook, not the internet, but it literally fucking just says Facebook. And so why do you have a whole page dedicated to telling everybody you met on Facebook but not explaining anything else? Is that so that you get invited to interviews?
You don't put that shit together.
Because why the fuck not?
All right.
In all honesty, it was 6 a.m. I was tired as hell, and I was like, wouldn't it be funny if I pulled off this shit? So I just designed the page while I was at work on my laptop, sitting there. I had to take my hour-long break, so I'm sitting there. I'm just typing it out. I'm going, this would be funny. That's funny. So, and
This is
in all
what I deal with on
honesty,
a daily basis.
oh yeah, because it is just a dream to deal with you on a daily basis.
But seriously,
I'm
how
interesting.
did you guys meet though? I mean, I get Facebook, right? I mean, you guys are in some of the groups that we're in though.
Right.
It's an old Facebook group. I think it's been dissolved like 4 or 5 times now due to infighting because people are fucking stupid. But no, there was this thing called Selfie Saturday, and I was like, I don't have any friends, so here's one of me. And Jen commented on it when we started chit-chatting away, and next thing you know, we're hating each other over the intertubes.
And I
So
think
you guys
that
started
was-
hating each other.
No, it's always been all love. In the far too many ways, we're a lot alike,
Yeah.
and that's why we fight so well.
Yeah, it's
I
like
think
brotherly
that was,
sisterly
wait, we're in
hate.
2015 now, right? So that was August of 2014, I want to say.
Something like that.
Yeah,
So
that
did
was
you guys
August
start
2015.
arguing with each other on Facebook or arguing against other people? Were you in like
Other
a
people.
combined group or were you in one of those groups that were all atheists and are actually worse than all the other ones?
The latter.
The latter. And then there
Like
was
I
a
said,
whole weird issue,
it's
and
been
I
dissolved
started
like
picking
5
fights,
times.
and I started picking fights, and then Keith kind of followed me, and there went that.
Well, it's because I'm sitting there going, you people are being stupid. And they're going, well, no, we're not. We're just trying to jack each other off. And it's like, yeah, I could use a hand, but I'm in my refractory period, so ease the fuck off.
I could never deal with the groups that was like one solid chunk of people just waiting for the one odd person to wander in and just get completely attacked. I never could. I don't like trolling. I don't like the fake stories online. We've talked about this a few times, but like
Yes, we have.
the one-sided Facebook groups are just brutal. And obviously, you said the one you were in dissolved a few times. I think that's really what should happen to some of those groups is that there's nothing really good happening there. So you guys moved out of that. You
Right.
busted your way out, and so you're in a couple other groups. You moved around, and now you're. At what point do you guys decide, hey, we talk enough online that we could do Google Hangouts, we could do chats, or we could do just a
I think
podcast
it was
just
Keith's
spontaneously?
idea. Keith just kind of approached me with it one day, and he was like, hey, you're funny, I'm funny. We're both pretty fucking smart. We know what we're talking about. You want to do a podcast? And I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Why not?
I never said I was smart. Trust me. If you listen to our show, you know I am anything but.
Well, in the gist, oh my God, why do you have to get so fucking technical with that shit? Can't you
No,
just shut the fuck up and listen to a goddamn story?
I'm somebody
He's
who's
so
just.
nasty.
I'm far-
Just
This-
take a
this
fucking
is-
compliment, man.
Seriously.
No,
This is what makes
This
our
is my
show
chance
work.
to talk.
Nobody gives
No,
a
what,
shit about your chance to talk.
Yeah, no kidding. Every time we hear something about the show, it's always about Jen. I'm going, oh, yeah, I'm here too. Hey, hi. No,
This is why our podcast works so well, is because we have this kind of dynamic.
no.
Where it's not professional at all.
Yeah, what made me want to do it is overnight I started listening to podcasts like a year and a half ago. It started off with Skeptics Guide because I just like, fuck, I want to listen to something other than music because I was getting tired of just, music all the time. And I was like, I want to listen to something fucking intelligent, like talk radio. And of course, if you've got an iPod, you can't really do that. So I picked up a bunch of podcasts, and then I really got into Cognitive Dissonance. I went through their entire backlog. I listened to Scathing Atheist. I don't know, what else did I start listening to? I can't fucking remember. And I was like, you know what? If Tom and Cecil can run a show and actually build a fan base and just be like horrible human beings, why can't I?
Why don't I ask Jen?
So, and Jen was one of the only people who I thought it would work with. So I asked her, and she was like, fuck it, let's do it. So we did.
That's awesome.
I'm pretty agreeable to a lot of shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, with
Tanner-
Jen, you never
Tanner
have to
and
worry
I-
about the word no.
But Tanner and
Except
I
with the
met
back door.
with like a really crazy.
And again,
well,
with the sexist comment, Keith, fucking really.
well, Tanner and I had a really
Anal sex. Anal
back
sex.
way. No, stop with the backside. We had a very rounded meetup when we met through an atheistic group that we were both kind of searching for people in the area, and so we had an awesome contact. But we didn't start doing this show. Obviously, we had known each other for a while, and I started doing the blog stuff. But it's kind of turned into a really fun show, and that the chemistry took a little while to get. Like we had to try to figure out like how to make the show flow right, conversations, and know when to jump in and not to overstep and stand on someone.
What are you talking? Oh, sorry.
Fucking amateurs.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you guys have some fun with the conversations and stuff. So, I mean, obviously you had conversations, you had stuff where you did video or whatever, just so that, or did you just jump right into it? Just, okay, this is when we're gonna do it. Here's it, play, and this we're just gonna go.
That's exactly what we did. We were just like, it's basically taking the conversations that we have and just putting them on the air.
That's
It's
fun.
pretty much what we do. We're just like, okay, we take everything we text and everything we talk about and we just broadcast it.
Well, Chris, I'm going through our list. We do a lot of organization on our show. We bombarded poor Jen and Keith with outlines with lots and lots of words in them, mostly on my end. But
I'm smart now.
You have mosh pits and goals and dreams on here. Like, where are we going with this, man?
So
Yeah, like seriously, this podcast is actually like going somewhere. I'm not sure we're on the right show, Jen.
So so I listened to your first episode. And you guys talked about yourselves, and it was kind of funny because outside of the nails, the beginning of your show
Fuck
was
you,
actually
the nails.
very,
You gonna let me fucking give up the nails?
I'm
Fuck
not gonna
you.
let go. This is the first time I mentioned it, but the best part though about it is you got to hear Jen talk. It was kind of funny because she over trumped you, Keith, for the first half hour of that show. Like you were like, "Let me talk," and then she just be like, "Nope, nope. You ask me a question, and I'm gonna spend 2 hours having a conversation about it." And so, but it was really interesting though. Is I got to learn about
just like her.
Yeah, and I got
I
to
have
learn about
nothing like
mosh
that.
pits. And so you guys talked about mosh pits, and I thought that was really odd. But I'm a big metalhead, and I don't hear this come up a lot because not a lot of people like the same type of music as me. I mean, I like some very fucking extreme metal. I like electronic music and hip hop too, but I really like death metal, and that's kind of what I came from, pretty much since I was a kid. But you guys talked about mosh pits. So are you guys experienced concert goers? Do you enjoy mosh pits, or you are? Do you enjoy a mosh pit? Do you like a
No.
circle pit? You don't like a? Do you like? How about a circle
She likes a
I
circle
can do a
jerk.
circle jerk.
I beat her to it.
Jinx.
pit? So but you guys don't like mosh pits?
Well,
I
you
do.
have to understand that I'm 4'10" and maybe 105 pounds on a good day. So mosh
But
pits are actually
you're only
extreme-
4'10".
Yeah, mosh pits are actually extremely dangerous for me.
It's
Wow.
hilarious. She's so adorable.
I'm so tiny. I know. Like everyone hears me and they expect me to be this like 6 foot tall, 200-pound chick, and I'm like, no, I'm 4'10", maybe 105 pounds on a good day.
It's the smaller chicks though that are always the most intimidating. Sorry, it's the smaller ladies who are always the most intimidating.
No, call me a chick. I'm like totally fucking okay with that. Just stop saying that I have a giant vag hole. And I never,
Yeah.
and I never say
You
no.
bitch hole.
Is that the biology term? Is that
No, I'm a metalhead myself. My first mosh pit experience, I actually cracked a kid's ribs.
Ooh, good one.
Did you follow
Well,
him to the hospital? How the fuck do you find that out?
There's a very distinct.
He's making. He doesn't know.
It's a very distinct crunch that you feel surrounding your elbow when somebody falls into your arm for like the 8th time. And you're like, kid, fuck off.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, see, I never had an issue. I always liked mosh pits because even so I'm a bigger person now, but even in high school I was a little taller. I was 5'11", 5'11 and a half. I weighed 150 pounds in high school, and so I could hold my own pretty well. But
Yep.
the biggest problem with the mosh pits was I used to go to the Christian ones where everybody would apologize and like they would pick you back up.
Those
They would pick
exist.
you up. Well, that's how. Yeah, they do.
Oh my
Christian
god.
death metal exists. I grew up. You know how I grew up. So, but when they would pick you up and apologize to you, they'd be like, "I'm sorry for knocking you down." It was almost kind of Canadian of them.
Well,
They were
I
Christian.
mean, what happens? Do they say like "peace be with you" and then punch you in the face, and then you stand
No,
like
they're not
you know,
Catholic,
like,
they're just
and you punch
Christian.
them back?
No.
It's like fuck.
They didn't do the actual circle pit. That's the punching in the air and the hitting of people. That's more of a circle pit thing. They didn't do quite as much of that. They did more. It was just a shoving back and forth, and they're smaller concerts, so there's probably only 15 people in a mosh pit for the most
Oh my
part,
God.
except for when I went to Cornerstone And then Cornerstone was a huge mosh pit because that was like the Christian whatever that
College.
60s hippie fucking whatever the hell that, I don't even know what the hell the name of that is.
60s hippie mosh pit.
No, it's a 60. It's a hippie. It's a Woodstock. It's fucking Woodstock.
Okay.
Cornerstone was the Christian version of Woodstock. You got to go camp out. They had weird porta potties, weird showers. You could wash by the lake or the creek. You could.
Who fucking knew? You know, shit, I didn't fucking know about this. Who fucking knew?
I did only because I followed the bands, and it was like the first time I got to see some of these bands that couldn't afford to tour. And it actually was my first experience getting really drunk off of really shitty homemade vodka. Some guy whose parents like were involved in the planning of the organization brought jugs of homemade vodka.
Dude, that sounds a couple levels up from like a news story and a couple of lawsuits.
Oh, yeah. I spent a week getting shit-faced. I was excited. I didn't think there'd be alcohol there. I was 18. I was like, yeah, I'm not really a Christian, but I love all this music, and I like to hang out with people. And I was with let's see, why am I telling you these stories? This is about you guys, not me.
Well, all I know is that whenever I spend any time in the mosh pits or whatever, like it wasn't like fighting, battling. Like every once in a while, a couple guys to throw down just because they were being douchebags and assholes and drunks or whatever. But like when we fight, like if someone goes down, everybody grabs that person, pulls them up, make sure they're okay. Like it's not so much like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you down, but like we don't trample someone into bloody parts on the ground. Like
Right.
it's a very inclusive community. I mean, I've been at Slayer shows. It's like 35 guys look like they're all white supremacists, and they're still not murdering people.
No, do not ruin Slayer like that.
I know that's what people like. That's what they say. They're like, holy crap, they look like that.
No.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but when I was down in the pit in the Slayer shows, everybody was cool. Everybody was, just metalheads. It was a good freaking time, and so like you would expect it to be just this bloody messy mess, but no, they're cool with it. They're not trying to kill each other or whatever. Just not apologizing quite like that, but it's still like mosh pits aren't like this.
Sorry, eh?
Yes, exactly. And then when I went to my first different. I'm dead serious. It was horribly different. Like the first one I went to was a completely different experience. I got hit in the chest, got the wind knocked out of me, and then somebody tried to steal my shoes.
What? How the fuck does that happen?
You weren't in a mosh pit. You were in the projects. What are you talking about?
No, it sounds like a New Kid on the Block show or something.
No.
That I've actually been to one of their concerts. That shit, you'd be surprised. You would think like metalheads have the worst, most violent concerts. You have never been to a boy band concert.
Yeah, I remember when Michael Jackson.
These bitches are fucking shiesty as shit. These bitches will fucking cut you for your seat. They don't give a fuck.
I remember when Michael Jackson had like his like giant concerts. They were like hauling dead bodies, just like fainting in the crowd.
These evil little girls, like it's like the mosh pit for Satan, and they're all controlled by this melodic music with these pretty little boys on stage. And I've seen them like punch people, pull girls' hair to get them out of their seats to get to the front of the stage. I've seen them strip naked. I mean, I'm talking 14, 15, 16-year-old girls strip naked, throwing their underwear on stage. I'm like, you are 15. You are 15. I know your mama ain't buy you no Victoria's Secret thong. You need to go tell her that you're throwing this at Harry Styles so she can take you back to the store and let them know you stole from them. What are you doing?
God, I love when her accent comes out in her rants.
Then they get on Twitter and they're like, get naked for this band. And I'm like, you're 15. This is child porn. What the fuck are you doing?
I can't say I've ever
being like,
haven't seen it.
Naked for Slayer on Twitter so we could support them. No, what the fuck? It's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're 15. Where's your mother? Where's your mother?
Obviously not at the concert.
Back in control.
It's that creepy uncle that came. That's what it was. They're like, oh yeah, we're a creepy uncle.
I'll take you to Slayer.
The one guy who's by himself. The one guy who's by himself at like a Spice Girls show or something.
I feel that's definitely a bad.
So creepy.
No, that's usually like you'll go to a concert like that and you'll just see a row of grown men standing in the back just because they had to bring their daughters with them, and they're the most miserable looking men I've ever seen in my life.
Well, yeah, it's because their souls have been crushed.
They need to hand out shots to these men and be like, here, just to get through it.
Here, have some crack.
I'm
you
sorry
should
your
stop
daughter's
saying
acting
that
like a
because I
whore.
have 2 daughters, and I let my one daughter paint my toenails and my fingernails.
And they are
They
so
really
pretty.
need to hand shots out to these guys and be like, I'm sorry your daughter's acting like a hoe. She'll get over it. They won't
How,
last forever. A hoe. They won't last forever. She'll get over it. Just have a shot and know this too shall pass.
So let's go a little bit back on track. We gotta throw that train
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit back on track. So
oh yeah.
so we were talking about how you guys were started, and then somehow Hannah decided he wanted to talk about mosh pits. He wanted to jump ahead in the conversation, I guess. But
He's a go-getter, that guy.
yeah, kind of. But some of what I really wanted to talk
Vicious.
about is your origins. Because you guys have a very good dynamic on radio. I mean, it is. I mean, Keith, you could say all the time that you get ignored, but you don't get ignored as much as you think you do. And the dynamic between
I
you two
know.
is very I don't know. I don't even know how to say it. It's very emotionally bonded. You guys sound
You're
connected.
close.
We really are emotionally bonded. But it's like, he always bitches, nobody pays attention to me.
Oh my
But
god, I never should have said anything.
You'd never
You
gonna
say it on
fucking
the
do
show though all the time.
You
You,
say it, like,
said
all
it
the
on the you said it on the Black Dicks Matter. show.
Because he's a whiny fucking Canadian. That's why he says this. It's just what they're
You
programmed to do.
did.
It's because
Anyway,
I'm so sick
it's
and
like-
tired of the UN telling America to go do something and then they're like, now bring Canada along with you, and we're like, I don't
Now
want to
bring Canada
go.
along
They're
with
invading
you.
Iraq.
Yeah.
Bring Canada along. You don't feel left out, darling.
Well,
But
I love how Canada
my
is the
dynamic
default.
wouldn't work without him. It's like I won't do shows without him. I won't do interviews without him because the dynamic just won't work, and it wouldn't be the same kind of episode. I won't do it.
Oh my god.
I think we got tears. We got the waterwork. Look at that.
Oh,
shit.
sorry, I choked him with the strap on again. I'll make sure it wasn't
Wow.
But you guys are in the same time zone though, at least. I mean, that's
No.
just no.
No,
Okay, no.
No.
For an hour.
no, he's all the way over.
Oh, you're
I'm an
fucking
hour
4
behind
hours
him.
behind us then.
I'm 2 hours behind you. What the? You don't time zone well.
Where the fuck does he live?
don't-
Where is he living? Kiribati? What are you talking about?
Okay, so hold on. So you're both 2 hours behind us, I thought.
No, I'm 1 hour behind you.
Yeah.
And I'm 1 hour behind her. That's right.
Mm,
That's the best. That might be
But-
the most sensual time zone description I have ever heard.
giggity.
I may actually understand it now for once.
Yeah. Chris is just looking at who's saddling up behind who, and now he knows what the time zone difference is. That's a nice way to put it.
She already said that she was going to come all the way to Michigan anyway with a big black dildo. So I mean,
So
if you
why
think
not?
about it,
Come on,
technically that would fit into the description.
Hooray!
Maybe
It's
we
a
all
shirt
missed
up.
our callings. I think we all missed our callings as teachers, honestly. I think we all missed it.
So let's try and bring it back. So you guys' show. So what do you guys have a format? Do you guys plan your shows in
Yeah.
advance? I mean, I know you say you randomly do it, but I've seen some of the notes and stuff like that. So the question is how do you pick your topics or your guests? Do you just go, hey, whoever the fuck wants to come, or do you decide and be a little bit more implicit to say, hey, this is the type of show I want for this week, and this week I want this type of show?
It's kind of a controlled chaos. We kind of just find random shit that interests us, or random podcasts that
I'm
interest
sorry,
us.
we?
I've contributed shit. You
It's been a
fucking
few
ass
episodes.
stain.
One of the running themes is that I take a lot, I'll do notes because I actually kind of want to be thorough and get the right details of the story
Yeah,
because
because
I
you're
don't want
totally
to have
fucking
any.
anal retentive. That's why. You
I
don't
just
know how to
graduated
let shit
university.
go.
Shut the hell up.
Aww. So you're
No,
in debt like the
it's-
rest of the country.
Yeah. I know. I'm like everybody else.
Why don't you organize those student loans while you're there, honey? It's okay.
No, typically it's usually if it's a story that we can just kind of laugh at. It's
Yeah.
how inappropriate can we get, or what kind of a conversation can we have? Because the main thing that I want, anyways, my reasoning behind doing the show is, I come from a background of ignorance, which I'll talk about a little bit later, especially once we get into politics. Is I come from a background of ignorance, so this is kind of my way of, trying to push myself to grow up a little bit and, maybe be a bit of an adult, which is
Why?
questionable at times. It might come in handy one day.
The vast
Might.
amounts of eggnog might get in the way of that.
Usually
suck
it's whiskey
a
or
dick.
scotch, though. Usually you have whiskey or scotch. Last time I was on,
I'm double fisting.
what were you drinking last time?
Glenlivet, was it? Or
Glenfiddich.
Damn,
Confidence.
you got some fucking expensive ass taste, buddy. I'm
Yeah.
too poor for that shit.
Look, I may not be a cheap date, but I am fucking easy.
Fair enough. So now that we know how you guys started, we know about your podcast. We want to talk just a tiny bit because we got to wrap the segment up a little bit about yourselves, right? And so I want you to tell the audience something you've never told anybody else about yourself. And I do this. This is like my little ace card in the hole sometimes. And it could be anything you want. I don't give a fuck what it is, but it is going to be your signature for our show. So Keith, I'll let you start.
No, it's best to let Jan go first.
No,
because
I really have to think about this. I'm like really trying to move right now. So please go
Wait.
first.
This would have been something
Because I
for
know
us
it's
to.
like there's nothing that I like really keep secret. There's nothing that I really keep hidden. So it's
Honestly, if you listen to our show, Jen has absolutely no problem talking about whatever
No,
problems she has,
I
no
really
matter
don't.
how personal or potentially inappropriate they might be.
I know
really-
this from personal experience because I've been Snapchatted, Twittered, or something. He's talking and my face is in a shape that it's not normally in. It's already been a couple times.
I'm like really fucking open. So this is like something I really have to think
This
about.
is it's easy. Come on. There's got to be something that you haven't told somebody online. How about that? You might have told
No,
other people in
even
person. No.
All right, well, I'll let you guys think about it a second, and I'll go back to.
No, like Keith
I'll
go
just
first.
get-
So I know what I know.
Well,
like
I'll just go with one that I got a couple quickly. One that I know that I've never told anyone is when I
okay,
was.
Princess Spotlight.
Well, no, I mean I'll let you guys think a little bit. Like, it's an easy one to run through. Is when I was in school, when I was younger, or whatever. I was Jewish and I was Christian. My mom was Jewish and my father was Presbyterian, but I had both sides of it. And when you're in a school that's just a basic public school, I didn't really know which one to say, and so I would just tell people that I was both of those things. I used to get into fist fights weekly because of that kind of stuff, and the bullying and stuff. It's never really something that you talk too much about. It's like, yes, I was bullied or whatever, but like those kinds of things, they stick with you for a long time, and that's one of the reasons why I became as apathetic and kind of drifted towards the metal aspect, because I actually found those people more accepting, and that's one of the reasons why I'm metalhead and I like crazy groups and stuff like that. So like those kinds of things are really important for some people that have to deal with tough moments or whatever. So. Like, there's something I've never really talked about online, so let's dig through it. What do you guys got? Come on.
Crickets.
You're
Why
going to
does
have to
Keith
insert
look-
that sound effect.
Keith, you like looked like this thinker statue that like somebody was molding for a second there. It was actually quite studious, but oh, I got something.
Finally.
Oh, okay. Shockingly, I know this is going to shock a lot of people. I spent a long time kind of living my life to what other people thought.
Oh.
And yeah, right? Like weird for me. And it was always kind of outrageous, but it was a controlled outrageous. And I was always like, would this impress this person or is this the right situation for what I'm in? And my ex-husband was in the military and that just like magnified the fuck out of it. 'Cause it's like, oh my God, am I playing the right? It was always, am I playing the right role for a long time with me? And the one thing I think that my divorce taught me was that it's a lot harder to figure yourself out now in your 30s than in your 20s.
There you go.
It's really a lot harder. But just I wish I had never played that role because for a long time, I want to say a span of like 10, 15, well, maybe about 10 years, I had absolutely no idea who I was. I had no fucking concept of who I was. So when my marriage did end, I was left with a kid. And then I'm like, well, fuck, I have to teach this kid how to be a person, like his own person, not like a clone of me. But who the fuck am I? Don't
Very
play the
introspective.
exactly
That's
like
awesome.
who the fuck am I? Like I have to figure out who I am before I can teach him how to be a person.
All
And
right, Keith.
it's
Oh,
just a
man.
weird spot to be at.
You gotta top that, buddy. You gotta top that.
That's
Which,
an
by
awesome
the
story,
way-
but
By
he's
the way,
gonna
I've
have-
been separated for about a year and a half now. It took me about that long. And
Wow.
I'm totally fucking cool with who I am. Like I'm like, oh my God, I'm not this bad person. I'm not this yeah, I'm brash and I'm rude and I really generally don't give a shit, but that's who I am, and that's what makes me so fucking lovable. And if you don't love that, then why the fuck should I waste my time with you?
Mm-hmm. And see,
That's what-
that's amazing though. See, and I think that comes out if you actually listen to your show. And I don't know if you guys ever go back and listen to yourselves, but for the audience,
No,
if you go
I
listen,
hate doing it.
see, I do too. But if the
I
audience
listen to
wants
myself
go,
all the time.
Yeah, he does. He's
You
He
know
wants to
it?
get
yeah,
into it.
token narcissist.
He
Wow.
is. But
Oh,
if,
yeah.
if you
Jesus
go
God.
and listen to their show, you actually can see that. And I'm very glad that you said that, Jen, because that kind of brings out a lot about what your podcast is. There's a lot in-depth part of your podcast about you where you give a lot of your life away because you didn't do that for so long. And I think it kind of
Yeah.
shows your genuine nature.
Thank you. And I mean, that also kind of helps me figure out who I am, is like actually saying it and saying, okay, this is what it's about, and getting it out. And that's how I came to my life motto. If you're not fucking me, feeding me, or financing me, one of the 3 F's, I don't give a fuck what you think.
That came out really quickly. You've said that a ton of times, haven't
Have
you?
I? And yeah, that's the 3 F's.
It's a
If
practice
you don't
speech
fall into
now.
one of the 3 F's, I don't give a fuck.
That's
In fact,
awesome.
it's on her Tinder page.
It is not. No, it is not on my Tinder page. My Tinder page
Do
is
you have a Tinder page?
I do just
Okay.
because I have this morbid fascination with it, because it tells me who knows my friends. So I'm just like morbidly fascinated with like how many people it's like Kevin Bacon. I'm morbidly fascinated with it.
That is
It's like the whole reason I go on is just to see who I'm connected to.
fair enough.
That's kind of creepy.
All right, so
I-
Keith, it's your turn, buddy.
Shit. Well, I guess I can't go with the whole unsure identity. Truth be told, and God damn it,
Upstage again, motherfucker.
yeah. You short people always act like you got something to fucking prove. No, truth be told, I spent a lot of my life being really afraid of being too different. I got bullied a lot as a kid. I was picked on a lot, and I was afraid that standing out too much would draw attention, and it would draw like that kind of attention. So mostly I stuck with like really smart friends all throughout up to end of grade 9, and then I moved, and the beginning of grade 10, it was kind of like a fresh start. That's when I got into hard rock, heavy metal type deal, and hey, I could stop. Oh, I hear myself in the background. It's tripping me up. I don't know. Anyways,
Way to
There's a nice
kill the
diversion
moment.
for ya.
Way to kill the moment with your own echo.
Oh, dude, it's
had a good
amazing how
moment
short
there.
my attention span is. It's glorious. No, and so I, spent a lot of time really just trying to fit in, and I developed sort of some, almost anxieties about standing up for myself and shit like that. So I've spent the better part of the last few years really trying to figure out, what I need to do to correct that, because if you meet my family, we're not known for being shy and timid. Oh, shut the hell up, Jen. My dad is very loud, and my mother is very loud, and my aunts are very loud. And it's just, it's not like me to be timid. So it's only been in the last couple of years that I've really, lived up to not just the shit disturber standard, but also kind of stood on my own 2 feet and said, no, fuck you. This is who I am. I don't need to, be who you think I am or be who you want me to be. I have my own path.
Yeah.
I guess.
And I think that's a big bond between me and Keith, is that we both went through this stage of we were doing what we thought was expected of us. He was being the smart kid and the quiet kid, and I, went off and got married and had a kid, and because we felt it was expected. And we we're both kind of coming out of this, and this, holy shit, we can be our own person and be okay, and basically telling everyone, fuck you, I'm not for the status quo, and that's just not me. So we're both kind of doing it together, and I think that forms a big part of our emotional bond with each other.
That's awesome.
Is that we're both kind of breaking out from that mold with it.
See,
Did we just have a moment?
We did.
Yes.
If
ruined it.
I could have got my Camtus working, I could have played the music, but I
Just
don't
put
have
it
my
in
Camtus
post editing. Put it in editing.
So we don't want you guys to go anywhere. We want to make sure the both of you stick around. But we're going to take a quick commercial break, and as we walk out of this
Excellent.
segment,
This like it's going right through me.
It is. I bet it is. And before we get into voting and gerrymandering, I wanted to leave everyone with this quote, something that I think sums up both Jen's and Keith's relationship. A quote by a very awesome, famous person named Hunter S. Thompson. We are all alone, born alone, die alone, and in spite of true romance magazines, we shall all someday look back on our lives and see that in spite of our company, we were alone the whole way. I do not say lonely, at least, not all the time, but essentially and finally alone. This is what makes your self-respect so important, and I do not see how you can respect yourself if you must look in the hearts and minds of others for your happiness. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We have Not Another Atheist Podcast sticking around to talk about gerrymandering, fucking fracking, and if we should have a two-party system. Keep that dial tuned, because we'll be right back with more Cellar Door Skeptics.
This is C-Web from ParanormalSkepticAcademy.com, and you're listening to Cellar Door Skeptics. Prepare for the revolution. What was that?
Like what you're hearing? Check out more Cellar Door Skeptics every week right here on Spreaker and iTunes. Make sure you come back and check out new episodes with your hosts, Christopher Tanner and Chris Hanna. And always, remember, prepare for the revolution.
Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to more Cellar Door Skeptics. You're joined tonight by two awesome individuals from Not Another Atheist Podcast, Miss Jen and Mr. Keith. In this segment, we wanted to talk about gerrymandering because Mr. Hanna decided he was going to go out and read some article on the Detroit Free Press, and how he spends his time reading all these weird articles is beyond me.
I didn't decide.
You do decide this shit. Hey, did you pick your phone up? Did you go to this website? Did you click on this link? If you did that, you decided. If your phone just said, here, read this, and you're not going to do anything until you do that, then you don't get to decide. But you're deciding.
I read this shit on paper, son. I do that old school.
So even worse. So you made a bigger decision because you picked a motherfucking paper up and read it. What the fuck is wrong? We'll put you and Jeremiah in the library together, and you two can share fucking paper articles with your little glasses and your British hats.
I would so do this with you. I would
with the tea, and you could be like,
Fuck that, we're throwing the tea in the goddamn harbor.
My father buys the newspaper every single day. He buys the Detroit Free Press, and he has the Grand Rapids Press that just comes to his house. And he brings the Detroit Free in to work. He brings the Detroit Free Press in. And the Detroit Free Press is the liberal rag of Detroit. And then the Detroit News, which is the conservative rag. And so he's a conservative to a point where I literally we have yelling arguments at lunchtime over certain conversations about a variety of things throughout.
Can you invite me over? You know I only work 10 minutes down the road from you. I would literally sit there and eat my popcorn and videotape this. I'd be the Hannahs are fighting.
No, because you would get involved in these things.
Nah, I wouldn't.
Yes, you would. Trust me.
I would sit with my popcorn and videotape you.
No, you wouldn't, because my father said these words. Donald Trump is saying some good things lately. Yes, that argument happened the other day, and I mean it was a rough lunch. So we read the paper, and I read obviously the Free Press. I read it every day, and this article came through, and I had heard about the voting stuff. I had heard about people kind of holy shit, they're discriminating, that we can't vote. And this is the first case in Michigan that I've seen. That's something that really caught me by surprise at how subtle it was. The Michigan Republicans have a proposal going through the whole system right now, and it's basically to remove the straight party voting on ballots. So when you get to whatever election you're dealing with, at the top of it, it'll just say Republican and Democrat, and you can just vote just across the board. So you fill out one bubble, you're done. You can get the hell out of there, you can get back to work. they're talking about the issue as time here. And so this article is really nice. It talks about poor access and people that are having difficulty with being able to be gone from work for that long. And that's where I never really thought about it. I was like, oh yeah, the voting restriction, people having their licenses and having whatever that we'll talk about, for voter restrictions later on in a few minutes. But just this one particular is like, you're a legitimate voter. You have all of your shit that you need. You may end up waiting 3, 4, 5 hours in line in some places in the Detroit area where there's only a couple places where you can vote, and the voter density is so high. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, they're going to essentially make the one thing that makes this faster, just checking off Democrat. And of course, this is the Republican thing, because they're trying to find ways to make it difficult for people of a lower financial spectrum, which are less likely to vote for Republican conservative ideals when it comes to all kinds of things of that nature. This is just subtle.
So hold on though, you're going off the rail. You're going off the rails.
It's how I roll.
Hold on. We gotta go back to
over here.
Yeah, we got to go back to what gerrymandering is. So what you're describing to me, and this is
just a voter suppression. This isn't gerrymandering quite yet.
Well, hold on. It depends, because gerrymandering is the practice that attempts to establish a political advantage for a particular party by manipulating district boundaries to create a partisan advantage. So if you think about it, if you categorize all the low-income people and you do it in a way where there's only a few spaces that could be polling stations, it's gerrymandering. It doesn't matter how you want to call it. The difference is I think that you need to describe that, because I'll be honest, I didn't care about gerrymandering until you brought this topic up, and now I'm pissed off by it. Now it's fucking making me angry. I want to go sit down and file my nails against it.
Fuck you. God damn it!
What I'll do, I'll bring in the gerrymandering aspect, and then we'll bring Keith and Jen into anything that they've experienced and kind of what their thoughts are on this. But the gerrymandering,
you fucking serious? I'm Canadian, you asshole.
They don't have to worry about that in Canada. There's not enough people.
No, there's
He's not even wrong. That's not even a joke. That's a flat out fucking truth.
Everybody is equal. It's just all this fantasy land of utopian happiness, and then you
can't vote.
Listen, we already apologized for Brian Adams.
The elk can't vote for humans, so they don't have anyone to root.
Well, I do know that they finally they've got a new prime minister. You call your top dog there, right?
Wow, score points for you.
Wait, what's your prime minister's name again? Is that Trudeau guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyways,
fucking ridiculously hot. Like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
Well, before he was in
Keep
there,
it in your pants.
you guys had a pretty regressive conservative party in there that was just eliminating all kinds of environmental records.
Wait, didn't you have the guy that was in there that was a cokehead? Isn't that who?
No, that was
prime minister.
That was you guys.
No. We don't have prime minister. We don't have prime ministers.
You guys had a top dog who was like a cokehead or something.
No.
Yes, we did.
Now that a goddamn Google this shit.
According to Family Guy, George W. was a cokehead.
Okay, well, who cares what Family Guy says? Hold on, who's the guy in Canada? Hold on. I'm going to Google this shit. We're live on air.
I'm trying to find it too. I know what you're talking about. He's a big chubby guy. Rob Ford, the mayor of Toronto.
Oh my God.
Yes, there we go.
Our prime fucking minister. Jesus Christ.
Well, that shows you how far removed I am from Canadian politics.
Rob Ford was pretty much the Canadian Marion Barry.
God, Rob Ford was an amazing show.
Oh yeah. Well,
if you're gonna run through hold on. I see him as Charlie Sheen. That's who he reminded me of. Like a fat Charlie Sheen. He couldn't say anything correct. Every fucking time
that was like Marion Barry. Dumb. He was smoking crack in hotel rooms with fucking hookers, paying with it on the government dime for DC. I mean, did we forget about this guy? Am I this old now? And then they elected him mayor again. They elected him mayor again after he got busted with the crack and the hookers and lying.
I don't care about the hookers. I mean, whatever a man wants to do in a room with, a woman with a penis and a parrot, that's his business. It's when he starts getting, like Colombian children to bring him the cocaine. That's when I draw the line.
Just don't do it with government money.
Well, Michigan, we do have a higher class with Kwame Kilpatrick working his way through hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s of Detroit money with all kinds of nasty things and what was it? Buying $50,000 SUVs for his wife because at $51,000, that's when they had to
It's an
actually
audit.
report it. Yeah. So no, we've had our share of the garbage politicians as well. So, I mean, back to gerrymandering. You guys want to get back to
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah, that's the topic at hand.
yeah. Well, the gerrymandering it basically occurs in the map drawing process. It's initially used to benefit a particular party. It's when they're districting, figuring out what districts go where and who is included in what voting section, and that is where they manipulate and they adjust. And so we're going to include a link in the description for the Washington Post, and this is the best explanation of gerrymandering you will see. It's the title of the article, and they use it in. Surprisingly enough, the guy sourced it. He used an image from Reddit that explains gerrymandering, and it shows how in a district with a majority Democrat, 60% blue and 40% red, that Republicans would actually win the section is by distributing the particular votes in a certain, basically solving the puzzle in a way that that Republicans win. And so this is an explanation, and there'll be a visual. It'll be at the very top of the article. But redistricting happens every 10 years. It deals with the census. And each state has different rules. The governor is involved sometimes. In some cases, it's just the House and the Senate. They have to double check each other's work. But when it's all one party, they all kind of collude together to get the answer that they want. And so you're getting the districts and all the counties cut up in a special way that it essentially that more likely, let's say, the upper class and the people who are in the higher echelon will have more say than the people who have less money and more likely to vote Democrat. And so Republicans are going to win every time, over and over again, even though they represent a smaller.
So hold on, stop your diatribe for a second. How does this even happen? How is this even legal? That's my question.
Oh, this is the issue that I've been trying to find. I haven't been able to find it anywhere. I don't. Let's Jen, Keith, do you guys know anything about this gerrymandering stuff and how they can do it?
I'm really not completely up on it because it confuses the shit out of me too.
I know, me too. I tried
because that was I was like, wait, how is this even legal? And the only thing I can really think of is that it's somehow tied to the Electoral College, because it just kind of makes sense that way, because you have, okay, we're going to designate this a red state, and then we're going to, a red area or a blue area, and then they figure out delegates for each state for each side in the Electoral College. So this has to be tied together somehow, because it's supposedly done by population.
Yeah, well, it's the census that picks out, the census gives you, as far as I know, it's income value and race, nationalism.
I don't remember doing income value. I remember doing race and nationalism. I don't remember income value ever being asked.
I think it's just like maybe an optional thing. I remember the census that came through in the Grand Rapids area. It was pretty specific, but
I barely fucking remember. All I know is that if you didn't turn it in, someone knocked on your door.
Yeah,
and I really felt for those people.
My two pit bulls usually chase away the people that come by with the white shirts and ties, but
okay, Michael Vick.
No,
that's a joke I can make because I actually know something about that topic, motherfucker.
I don't torture my pit bulls. I let my pit bulls torture people.
See, exactly. See, he's humane about it. He loves the animals. We love the animals here.
Damn right.
I think they purposely make it that confusing so that it's not questioned.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in the other thing for fracking. There's a section of it that's intentionally confusing for anyone who's not a chemistry major. And this kind of stuff, this political science stuff, it's like I always allude it to taxes and stuff. It's like it's so complicated that someone just coming in is like, that doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound okay that you can just kind of carve this so all the rich people have the majority say in this one spot. And then all the poor people in this giant, massive area that doesn't have a say at all.
I think it's intentionally made confusing because, I mean, it's statistically proven. If you have a higher income from higher means, you're more likely to be higher educated.
Yeah.
So this is going to work in people's favor. If you throw a bunch of fucking political jargon at people and legal jargon at people who aren't educated in it and who don't have the opportunity to become educated in it, it's too confusing to figure out. So they don't know what to question.
Yeah, and so what they're doing is they're kind of using this system to cheat, so to speak. And this comes back to the voting stuff. This is the stuff that I was really upset about. And then we can all this will be something that it'll get kind of gray, because I went from the Detroit Free Press article that was like, okay, I get it, that having the one size fits-all boat at the very top to get in, get the hell out, and get back to work. Because let's say your paycheck can't handle 3, 4, 5 hours off because you're making minimum wage in some factory job that will probably be gone in 15 minutes in the Detroit area. Well, we've got, from the 2002 elections, we had this huge hoopla about voter fraud, and also it's coming through again. And there's a case in Alabama where they're having problems with this. But in 2002, there was a big thing where Texas was saying that we have to deal with all this kind of voter fraud. And of course, everybody's favorite governor in Texas was saying that he wanted to make sure that everything was legit. And said in Texas, no driver's license offices in almost a third of the state's counties. Meanwhile, close to 15% of Hispanic Texans living in counties without driver's licenses or driver's license office don't have an ID. So a little less than a quarter of driver's license offices have extended hours, which means that these people cannot get in and get their ID. And so the only and who says they even need them? Let's say they take public transportation. They don't ever need a driver's license.
Or if,
they never have to drive a car or whatever.
Either that or they have to take a full day off of work, because we've all dealt with the DMV. This isn't something that you get in and out of in an hour.
Yeah, and so I wanted to see, Keith, do you have something that, I mean, you guys have to deal with like just 3, 4, 5 hours in your voting process where it's a big deal. You have to take your time to get into that.
Oh my God, something I might actually be able to contribute on. Other than just sitting here masturbating, because I have nothing else to say, really. It's just keeping myself occupied. No, I actually, I know, let's make sure you earn that explicit tag, and, you know, it's not another atheist podcast fashion if I don't try to derail the conversation a little before I try diving right back into it. I actually worked in the election a couple of years ago. I just kind of was the one who returned the ballot box, counted the ballots and everything. It was kind of a neat little process to be a part of.
Did you steal some of the ballots too? How did they make sure you didn't fuck it all up?
Legally, I'm
not saying you wouldn't do
whether I
that,
did or did not.
But, you know.
Don't fuck. I'm gonna trust him. Y'all fucking Canadians are too nice. I don't trust you motherfuckers for shit. You're all like, hey, you're a friend, eh? Our Thanksgiving is for a guy that never made it to the North Pole, but he tried, eh? I don't fucking trust you motherfuckers. I'm telling you, that's a New Yorker thing. You say hello to me in the morning, you pick my fucking pockets. Fuck that shit. I don't fucking trust you motherfuckers.
You only trust somebody who you know is gonna pick your pockets.
But seriously,
well, no,
did you
So
do that? Did you fuck with the votes?
Legally,
I'm serious. Did you? I got the Canadian residency right on my phone. I'm on my phone right here on hold, waiting to just say it. Let me hear it so that
my name is Keith. I am of sound mind. I did not inhale. That's what I'm supposed to say, right?
I did not hail during sex. I did not hail the sexual relations with that woman.
I didn't. I of course did my job properly, because if they found out, I mean, they might have tossed me in jail for a couple of months, and no big deal. Yeah, really.
Is Canadian jail like where you wake up and they give you waffles with maple syrup on it, and they're like, "Here, have a side of bacon."
Are you talking shit about maple syrup, motherfucker?
I am. I hate maple syrup, but do you get sides of bacon? And do you is that what jail is? And then they're like, "Oh, well, you get to let's go play hockey for the rest of the day today, and then you're gonna come back and go to bed early." Is that how Canadian jail is? I've never been to
Canadian jail is like the penalty box. You're not allowed to play hockey.
Oh, fair enough.
See, I can't envision this pound you in the ass. I run this motherfucking yard Canadian jail. I just can't envision it. Like,
they don't. No, they don't. They ask, right? They ask first. Would you like me to fuck you in the ass? And then they're like, well, sure.
Excuse me, sir.
Anyway. If I put this toque on, can I put my penis up in your butt?
Would you mind holding my pocket if it's not too much trouble? And that is if you're not holding anyone else's pocket, sir.
Actually, I see you guys getting drunk all the time. Like, no offense. Like, I love Canada. I honestly do. I love hockey. I love Canada. And I would rather live there than Michigan sometimes. But I always think of Strange Brew. And I know this is very... like, for me, this is... I'm going way far off. I'm probably saying shit I shouldn't say. But... I do. I think of Doug and Mackenzie every fucking time.
Doug Mackenzie?
Yep. We just
toques.
Yep. And they drank, and I remember that movie. The movie's one of my fucking favorite movies of all time. Love that movie.
Best Canadian stereotypes.
So is Canadian back to the subject? Is Canadian jail like that? Do you get to go to a brewery? Do you get to sit around and have fucking sausage and eggs and waffles with maple syrup on it.
No, you
I'm
actually
going
have
to
to
jail
build
in
igloos
Canada.
all day.
You do what?
Build igloos all day.
Well, it doesn't sound like horrible. I don't know who the fuck lives in the igloos though.
But do you get to sit in the
Canadians do.
igloo after you're done building it and have your like Labatt and your
Do you know
sausage
nothing
and
about
your...
stereotypes about Canada? Like, come on. We live in igloos. We all have pet beavers.
No, I thought.
I
never
have a
mind.
pet beaver. How you could say that is the
No,
only
you
thing.
pet your beaver. There's a difference. Hi-oh.
You know what? I'm not gonna get into what my beaver looks like right now. So yeah.
Okay,
Hint. Think Chewbacca.
No. He's a little chilly right now because even though I'm not getting laid, I still keep it trimmed. Thank you.
There's a taste of Not Another Atheist Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Jen telling you things you probably didn't want to know, or you may have wanted to know.
It's a personal thing. Even if I'm not getting laid, I still shave my legs. I still keep everything trimmed down because it's just a personal thing. Because you never know when like surprise dick might pop up, and you just kind of have to be ready, like right then and there. You know, I could be at Walmart and this really hot guy just shows up naked, and he's like, "Hey, want to fuck?" And you know, it
Yeah,
would be
Walmart,
really
that'll
fun.
happen.
If you know,
If I
Maybe in
do
Canada.
Morse code,
stop flashing the screen.
if I do Morse code, can I save this show back to voting? Is
Oh
it
yeah, we were
possible?
having a conversation about something important. No, you guys were you had asked me about the Canadian voting process. It only gets backlogged after rush hour when everybody's on their way home. It was really funny. The funniest part, and I have to tell this. So my role, I think it's called the chief returning officer. Either way, it was my job to bring the ballot box back to wherever the fuck office I had to take it back to. It was like 6 years ago, and I spent most of the day drunk. It doesn't matter. Anyways,
Was it like the
so
Al Gore lockbox?
Sorry?
That might have been an obscure American joke.
No,
there,
you
but was
actually
it like
cut
the
out for a second.
Al Gore. Was it like the Al Gore lockbox when he said that would just be the way he saved the American people?
I'm gonna have to say no because all we used was like tape and cardboard to keep these votes secure. So that's how trusting Canadians are.
told you
That
I'm
is pretty-
trusting
Yeah.
motherfuckers.
So
Pretty
anyways,
interesting.
so I picked up the ballots because I got all our ballots and my voter lists and everything, and the night before I just went through, because they say, when you're there at 8 a.m. you won't have a chance to do any of your prep work, so do it the night before. So I was like, okay, I'll do that because go getter, right? So I'm looking over the ballots, and wow, that's an impressive eyebrow. So I'm going over the ballots. fucking Hannah. So I'm going over the ballots, and I saw one that represented a party, and I wish I could remember the name of it right now. And I had to look him up, and I'm pulling up my laptop, and I look it up. Turns out he was representing the white supremacists of Canada. Because
You
there's
have
a
those?
fucking thing.
Wait, there's black people to hate in Canada? Like, I didn't even know this was
I
Oh,
didn't know either.
oh.
I didn't know either.
Yes, and I went there.
There's probably like black French people that
See,
are.
and the weird thing is, though, is that I thought it would be like the KKK in Alaska, where it would be like they all get together and be like, we got to get rid of Ted
Yeah.
because that's the only colored person. But I guess we do have a lot of First Nations people.
Oh
in
my
there.
god, that is so not
Technically
how Alaska is. We have natives there, you fucking asshole.
Wow, if you'd have let me get like 30 more seconds into what I was saying, I just brought that up.
I'm just gonna say. That's up.
So I guess they have to hate on Aboriginals, which is weird because they were here first. Wait, there's
I wasn't
something
even.
wrong
Wait,
with
what?
that. Yeah, it's kind of one of those illogical things. So no, to the best of my knowledge, it's actually fairly straightforward. You go in, you check the box, and there you go.
So I mean, you're not dealing with what the bullshit that we've been dealing with when it comes to what we were talking about earlier. It's just like the licenses, the photo IDs. Like, oh, they're saying, holy crap, there's all this voter fraud, and we need to make sure that all these immigrants aren't coming in and voting illegally and making all these problems. Because I have statistics here that says in 10 years, just 100 federal prosecutions and only 50 state convictions just in the state of Texas, with more than 25 million people. I mean, this isn't a major rampant problem that our conservative wing of the United States wants to have everybody believe, but they want to be able to pass laws that could potentially restrict and disenfranchise the people who would be voting for more socialistic and more democratic if you deal with just the 1 to 2 party system that we'll be talking about a little bit later. It just, this could be a disenfranchising thing. So, I mean, you guys are just, it's people come in. Is there an ID check? Hey, Bill,
Yes.
I recognize you, or is it pretty?
Look, just because there's
I know
20 people in all of Canada does not mean we know everyone, okay? I mean, yes, I've met Joe. He's a hell of a guy, but seriously, come on. We do have ID checks, but we have other forms of photo ID. Like, you can get a piece of ID that just says, you are of age. You can purchase alcohol. You can purchase cigarettes. You can vote. You can gamble. Something like that. It just says, this is photo ID to say that this person is of legal age in this country. You can bring your passport. Typically, the rule was if they could bring like a valid passport, we just said, you don't need any other government ID because that's pretty well as internationally governed as it gets. Like, if you can go into the States with this piece of ID, we accept it.
Yeah. And I think that's important for our country to take into consideration, because gerrymandering is an issue, and it's one that I honestly never got on board with. I never knew about it. It was never something I gave a shit about, I guess, because to me it just sounded like some fantasy world, right? It's just like, oh, hey, gerrymandering, whatever. Is that
Or
an
like
intellectual
something
position or
Republican. It's like something rich Republicans did on Sunday after brunch.
Yes. Yes.
Like, how
If
can
I
we better
can-
fuck the American people? Oh, gerrymandering, just.
Cheers. Cheers.
How do we keep controlling the world? Oh, gerrymandering. Yes, gerrymandering.
If I can kind of hijack the conversation for a second, because Tanner here, you brought up not knowing shit about shit here. What the fuck is the Electoral College? Because I hear it referenced, and I'm like, what does that even mean?
Okay.
Can we explain that in 5 sentences
will.
or less?
We will not explain it in this segment, though. We will address that at the end of
In
the
the
show
two-party
when we talk
system.
about our two-party system.
Holla,
So we
man.
will answer that. So for everybody listening, you guys got to stick around, because we don't want to not give you that definition. You got to hear us school Keith. We got to educate him a little bit, because
This
he
is
has
going to be a
heart.
long show because I have a lot of problems with the Electoral College. I think it should be abolished.
So for me, gerrymandering is now an issue that I need to look at. It's something, and it's funny because when I was doing my research, right, I found a great quote by somebody that I know one person, at least on this show, bends down on his knees for. And the quote goes like this: "We also have got to see an increase federal role in the outrageous gerrymandering that Republican states have created, and in voter suppression." Bernie Sanders. And for me, it's a big deal, right? Because if they're sitting around and screwing with the electoral process, if they're going to turn around and say, well, we're going to reconstruct things, it says two things to me. One, it says, hey, we are going to find another fucking way to be racist and sexist in any fucking way, shape, or form that us white males can do. That's what the Republicans are telling me for point number one. And the other point is that if we continue to allow this to happen, all that's going to do is our voting system is going to become disparaged. You're going to have people that don't want to go out and vote. They're going to have people that are going to say, well, I'm fed up with the two-party system. I'm going to vote independent, but you know what? There's no good independent, so I'm not going to vote at all. And so for me, this is a big fucking issue. For me, this is something that I want to start taking seriously, because if we don't start addressing this, if we don't address how the states are being torn apart, we're going to have an unfair advantage with all these fucking people. And
but there's
me,
another point that you're missing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. What's the point I missed?
Fear.
Yeah.
There would be no need for this if they weren't deathly afraid that they were losing their grip, and this was their, I guess, ultimate swan song
Fair
before
enough.
dying.
Yeah.
This is the product of fear, of loss of control. And this is what people need to fucking wake up to. It's like, look, they sense that it's slipping. Let it slip. Run.
Yeah. Or change your politics. It's called evolution, right? We have evolution in the political
No,
sphere.
fuck changing their politics. We know that's not going to happen. This is
But
a
it
wake-up
has
call
to,
to
though.
the people.
I disagree.
that
It
you're already,
has to, though. You know it has to. Look at religion. Religion has evolved.
The
Religion,
only way that the Republican Party can evolve to make anything right is to cease to exist.
I disagree with you. 100% disagree with you. I'm sorry.
We'll hit that on the two-party stuff in a few minutes. Let's go to a break, goddammit.
All right. As we walk away from this segment, make sure you guys stick around because we're going to talk about fucking fracking, probably one of Jen's favorite topics because she hasn't gotten it in a little while. And she's going to have a conversation because she actually has some personal experience that she can share with us about this new topic coming up
Personal
next.
experience from Needle Dick, ladies and gentlemen.
Make sure you guys and the girls stick around for more Cellar Door Skeptics. We'll be right back after this fucking break.
Hi, this is Sharon Bush, newest and most badass host of the Unbuckling the Bible Belt podcast, and you're listening to Cellar Door Skeptics.
If you guys like what you're hearing on Cellar Door Skeptics, please consider sponsoring us on our Patreon page. Our goal at Cellar Door Skeptics is to help promote more science, skepticism, secularism, and humanism in the world. We want to create better content for our podcast and for you, the listener, all while trying to help promote local activism. We're going to strive to make better podcasts, and I'll tell you what, we're even going to contribute some of the proceeds to charity. So please join us over at Patreon.com/Cellar Door Skeptics to make sure that you sponsor us for as little as $1 an episode. Thank you guys so much, and prepare for the revolution.
Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Cellar Door Skeptics. We're about to have a conversation about fracking because it seems to be close to Mr. Chris Hanna's heart. And I read this interesting quote online. And in all the research that he did, he puts together pages of information. And then he says it to me 30 minutes before we go live to, actually have to read through. But one of these quotes that I found was, is fracking tantamount to breaking the bones of Mother Earth?
Mm.
And so
Delicious.
that's what I said. I said, so, all right, fair enough. We should
I kind of
analyze
dig that.
fracking.
I kind of dig that. I really dig that.
Yeah.
I do like
So
that.
what we want to do is Chris Hanna is going to intro us with a quick analysis of what fracking is, the blah, blah, blah that goes into the blah, blah, blah of it that he's more technically understanding of. And then we're going to have a conversation about, is it bad? What are the harms? What are the non-harms? And is this just another
what do we do
GMO
with the blah,
scare?
blah, blah?
Well, I don't know what the blah, blah, blah is. That's what we're waiting for him to tell us.
Well, essentially what we're going to do is in our usual list of links we have, the first one is going to be from the BBC, and it's an awesome, clear, quick little video that shows it. I mean, that was the first thing that I was trying to find was like a good visual representation of what they're doing when it comes to fracking. And they drill down and they have the ability to turn the drill in different angles, and so they can go out distance from the actual platforms and they can really reach around. And oh man, I'm gonna get slammed from that. Anyways, they can really work their way into different areas that they wouldn't have been able to in the past, and they can use this fracking to break apart this shale, they call it, and it's got natural gas trapped in it, and they use a variety of chemicals, they use a variety of sand and water, mostly water. And one of the things that we'll list in here, there's an image from frackfocus.org, and the importance here is the extension .org, .orgs, .govs, and sites of that nature that aren't the typical .com or .net. They're usually more stringently held. .edu is another good one. Those are going to be more stringently kept track of. You're going to get better information from those sites. So when you're looking at something about fracking, or you're looking at something about any kind of environmental problems or issues or anything that you want to keep to an educational level, using .orgs are usually important. And so this site here, it's a nice image that basically breaks down what the fracking fluid is going to be, and it's mostly water, 99.2%, and it's got this in this site also you have to take with a little bit of salt. A grain of salt, is because it seems to be kind of a coalition of all of the different groups trying to put information out there. So it seems like it has a little bit of an industry influence, but it shows all the different the levels. It's majority water and all the different chemicals that go into it that help clean the pipes, to help keep it from freezing, depending on the geography. You've got all kinds of stuff from, it says cross linkers and shale inhibitors and breakers, and all of this stuff is important when it comes to the specifics. Like you need the chemistry background. That's one of the issues that's difficult with this, is to go any further than, is fracking bad? Breaking apart the ground with all kinds of crazy chemicals, is it bad? Then you almost need a chemistry degree to understand what's going on. I found a variety of things, and they say lead, uranium, mercury, ethylene glycol, which is basically antifreeze, radium, methanol, hydrochloric acid, formaldehyde, acetic acid, petroleum distillate. All these chemicals, it's like a shotgun blast to the face of all kinds of stuff. Well, it depends on the geography, where you're at, where they're harvesting, if they're trying to break apart to get natural gas, if they're trying to break apart the shale to get oil, or if they're trying to break apart to get petrol or plutonium or uranium, or it depends on what they're trying to harvest, depends on how much contaminant gets into the fracking fluid. So essentially any kind of resource that you see is going to have like this disclaimer. So, well, it's not all one size fits all, and so you never know what we're going to be getting in. But I've seen videos of people lighting their faucets on fire. Mm-hmm. And so there's methane and all kinds of chemicals being released. So this is just what kind of drew me into the conversation. It's like, this is weird. This isn't normal. It's not. I haven't seen a lot of this in Michigan, or any kind of like major issues with this in Michigan. I mean, Tanner, I'm assuming you and your family probably have never dealt with anything like this before.
No, I mean, it's not like, in Flint right now they're having lead crises.
No, that is lazy people not cleaning their freaking water for lead and mercury and all kinds of stuff.
No, that's a government takeover.
Oh, yeah.
It's a government takeover. It's fucking got. It's not from shale, but that's a whole different topic. Don't get me going on the Flint water thing. I abhor.
Well, you guys also don't sit on the shale, so there's no reason for them to start digging into your ground or anything like that. Right?
No. And so, like, obviously, Jen, you're going to be one that's going to know of some actual real life stuff that you've dealt with this, because you've got a former acquaintance. We'll leave
my ex-husband worked for. I obviously can't name the name here because we might wind up with lawsuits. But
we're not that famous.
Still, dude.
What the fuck did I just miss?
My ex-husband worked for a very well-known drilling company who was extremely prominent in the shale area, which extends in mainly the Appalachian Mountains from New York State down into West Virginia. It's a combination of the Utica Shale and the Marcellus Shale. And he drilled for natural gas. He was a natural gas driller.
And so I mean, were you guys were you running into the earthquakes, all of the weird side effects that people have been getting from this fracking, breaking apart the ground?
From what I know, I don't remember hearing the earthquake issues, but there's a whole nother slew of shit as far as like the huge mountain ranges and the ones that run into each other that could be causing earthquakes out there too. So it's kind of like there's really not enough data to kind of collect to see if it's the actual fracking. But there have been many reports of contaminated groundwater, contaminated air, that people literally couldn't drink their water.
Yeah.
Because it was severe. I mean, like glowing, smelling, on fire, severely fucking polluted.
That's what drew me into it. I couldn't believe it.
Basically, the company would kind of pay off the local officials. And these are, I mean, we're not talking about major industrial areas here. These are very small Appalachian towns that lost out during the coal boom. These are impoverished areas. This is, West Virginia, Eastern Kentucky, where these people have nothing.
Yeah, they take their Pat Robertson diamond mine blood money and they just kind of live their lives as long as they can.
I remember my ex-husband telling me, and I think the saddest part about the industry taking over that part of the country was that there are signs on the highway that say, sell us your land sell us your land to this company. And these people are so poor and so impoverished that they're just selling their land that have been in their family's history for literally hundreds of years, just to kind of have a chance to survive. And or people would stick around because they had the gas boom where these towns would pop up. And now that we're seeing a production drop, a price drop in oil, the natural gas rigs are being affected as well. Because the guys that they put out of work in the oil rigs have to work somewhere. So they're putting them up on natural gas rigs. And so on top of contaminated drinking water and more earthquakes, now these people have no town.
Yeah, I have been trying to figure out and find the I guess the true information. There's so many different places that are really, really it seems propagandish is kind of the word I'd like to use, because the dangers of fracking.com is a really nice, it's a flash animated, you scroll down, and as you scroll down it gives you all of these horrible things that happen. I mean, it's like warning sign, it's OSHA terrors type situations, and
I mean,
it's all of this,
I'm
it's all
pulling up
stuff.
the
And
article
so
now.
yeah, and so I mean, those kinds of things are important, but I do think that we need to, like, 150 foot back and get the scientific perspective more than just like the flashy animation. And so what I did was I went to that website that I mentioned, Frack Focus, and they basically list what chemicals are used in fracking fluid. It's just it breaks apart this shale and this the natural gas. I'm just going to use the natural gas as an example. It breaks apart,
Well,
and the
that's
natural
mainly
gas
what.
molecules are trapped. Yeah, it is. And so that kind of it works its way back out, and they say anywhere from 30 to 70% of the fluid never actually makes its way back out, and it stays in the ground system, and it works its way out, and that's the weird pollution that we're dealing with. But Keith, where you're at, have you heard of anything like this happening in your area?
Well, Keith, you live in an oil boom area.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I wanted to know, if you've heard anything, or do those Canadians stay quiet about that stuff? Oh, it looks like we may have lost the
Yeah, Keith's been having some technical issues where he's been bouncing back.
the KEEF.
I'm actually flipping through some articles now for my ex-husband's company, and it seems to be that they paid off a town in Pennsylvania to shut up about contaminated drinking water of a sum of $750,000. Um, I'm actually reading the Republican Herald right now, and it says here their investigation found there have been thousands of spills at natural gas well sites in what state is this? In Pennsylvania, which is where predominantly the Marcellus Shale sits, is
Yeah.
mainly over the state of Pennsylvania and the mountains. The massive effort to exploit the shale has left an indelible mark on the landscape and communities in the state's northern tier and southwestern region, bearing economic benefits and environmental costs. So there's obviously something going on here that they're obviously trying to cover up. My ex-husband's company actually paid off a town to shut up about to seal the court documents.
Oh yeah, and one of the things that, like, whenever I hear about these kinds of difficulties is, okay, where's the money going? Where's whatever going? And that's what usually catches my attention, is when I hear something of like a corporation taking over a certain situation. Well,
and that's essentially what they've been doing in these towns.
yeah, and so what I was trying to find a scientific evaluation, and there's a scientific evaluation of the Barnett Shale, and this is a case study where they found methane leaks were 90% higher than the federal government estimates, so the EPA. And what they did a 2-year study, and they found that methane emissions from the Barnett Shale are nearly twice as much, 90% higher, nearly twice as much as estimated from the EPA's agency, obviously greenhouse gas inventory, but they're 5.5 times as the number from the separate global database, which is like this, worldwide, whatever. And one of the co-authors, because there's a pile of people that are involved in this. One of the reasons why I like this study, and another kind of reason why I don't like this study that we'll explain in a second, is Amy Townsend Small is one of the co-authors, and she says that she is an environmental professor at University of Cincinnati. She said the peer-reviewed papers often find larger emissions than the EPA estimates, because the EPA databases are based on decades-old methodology. So essentially the big government official programs are a little bit behind the new and cutting edge technology, and so they have a long ways to go. But the thing that caught me on this is methane is 86 times more potent than CO2 as a greenhouse gas in 20-year time scale, and 34 in a 100-year time scale. So like this is almost a 2 times release of what would be much, much more potent than CO2 as a greenhouse gas.
And here's something also that kind of skews the results. They're studying the Bartlett Shale, which is in Texas. And Texas really isn't known for its natural gas shale, it's known for its oil. As far as natural gas, now I'm more concerned with natural gas emitting more gases into the environment because, hey, it's natural fucking gas. I mean, we've all owned fucking stoves. We all know don't leave the fucking gas on. Everything coming out of the Marcellus and Utica Shale area has been violently suppressed as far as court records. There have been lawsuits, there have been payoffs, there have been gag orders put on them. So nobody is really getting the exact number of what is going into the ground, what is being released into the ground, because every time that there's a fuck up or a slip up or a contamination, these companies are paying off local officials to shut the fuck up.
Well,
So
yeah.
we don't really know what's going on.
That's that creepiness factor that you get from these big
Oh,
corporations.
this is
being
like
involved in
this
that.
is like Dick Cheney in a hood with a fucking sickle. Creepy. I mean, like,
So Keith, have you seen Dick Cheney up there creeping around? Jen said that you're in kind of an oil boom area.
yeah, he's in a huge oil boom area.
Is he?
Huge. Well, what
Sort
was
of.
an oil boom area, I should say.
Yeah, it was an oil boom area.
The industry has
It's
pretty much taken a nosedive.
pretty much. It's completely fucking tanked.
It's dead.
No, it's not dead. It's
Here
it's
it is.
tapering off. It's slowly leveling off, but no, it's nowhere near where it was anywhere near it's been the last few years.
What was it initially? Like, what were they mining or, I guess, drilling for?
Drilling.
They were up by Keith is the North Dakota Calgary oil-rich region, which is still producing a massive amount of fucking oil.
Oh, see, I'm talking about northern Alberta.
Oh, see, I'm
Northern
talking
fucking
about southern.
Northern
Okay, I'm
Alberta
talking-
is where we had most of the country's economy coming from.
Right. Well, because
Was-
you guys, it was like a split thing with the U.S. and it was fucking weird down there. But anyway,
Yeah.
Well, the reason I wanted to ask that is because one of the things they talk about in the Barnett Shale was that there is a thing called its initial boom, and you get the peak production and estimating its downturn effects. And its
see, this is
downturn
oil.
production
Natural
in a
gas
long
is a
time.
completely different demon.
Well, this was
as far as this
natural.
market.
This was a natural gas. The Barnett Shale. This was a
Is
natural
it?
gas.
Why am I thinking that's oil?
It's oil and gas facilities.
Because you're
in the
American.
Barnett,
Oil
it released
grain.
50% of the methane, and so apparently it says that they're bringing both of them out. The study seems very well done. There's a guy from the Cornell University, Robert Howarth, and essentially what he did was because I said that there was a bunch of authors involved in this study that I used as a reference, and he says that a few of the authors and part of the study was subsidized or sponsored by the industry. So he said, well, that section of the study shouldn't have been used, or it should have been critically accepted. They should have, kind of attacked it for it being a subsidized part of the study, and it should have been addressed in the paper. But the Townsend Small, one of the authors said that the results in this particular study that found that methane leaks were insanely high, said that this is kind of what the gas fields of today will look like for the next 20 to 30 years. It, just kind of past that peak mark, and this is what you're going to be getting: oil, gas, and a variety of things. It's like a statistical study, and it's just showing kind of the average leakage that you're going to be getting, which is terrible for the next 20 to 30 years, which is even worse, I guess, if you ask me. And so we're going to include that link into this. But I also have one more link that I thought was really cool. It's earthworksaction.org. This site was so full of stuff, I can't even describe what they had. But we'll include all of these links in. I just wanted to kind of touch on what fracking is and kind of go over what people have been fighting about, and how this is an important topic, and then we can, I guess, kind of work out of this segment and work our way into something else.
Contaminating the groundwater because, like Chris had said, it's essentially breaking the bones of the earth. The shale is a extremely hard formation in the earth's, I don't know if it's a crust or surface or whatever the fuck, it's a hard surface in the goddamn earth, and they're literally shattering this. And it's, this isn't like a butcher knife where you just kind of cut a clean line and you can kind of control what comes out of where and where it goes. No, they're blowing this fucking thing up. So yes, there's going to be fissures and cracks and dents in places that they were not expected to. And that is going to leak into people's groundwaters. This is going to escape into the air that people breathe.
Yeah.
Now,
and some of the statistics from those articles were amazing. What they said the pollution rates were, and that it's not safe for the environment. And for me, I I guess I'm not 100% anti-breaking the Earth's bones. I mean, I understand
I understand
greenhouse.
that we need these resources. I do
It's
get
the
that.
net profit. It has to be a net positive. Like all of the negative
Absolutely.
we hear has to be less than, obviously than.
Absolutely.
So that's what it is
what
for
they
me.
do is, and like I said, I'm more experienced with the Marcellus Shale in the Appalachian Mountains. They go to these already heavily environmentally damaged areas because this was the coal boom. This was the coal miner area. And they go to these areas where these people are just kind of used to living like this. So they're just like, oh, okay, it's just another pollutant. So it doesn't make a huge thing. But say they were to come to Michigan and do the same thing, these people would be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
They figured out how to do it in a place where people it's just become the norm for them.
Yeah. Well,
Just
and that's
already-
what's sad. That's the fucking government, right? The government's taking advantage of these people and their situations, and they're basically
And
keeping.
let me tell you, the government is paying out fucking subsidies to these companies like we've never fucking seen.
We've talked about that a bit in the past about removing the oil company subsidies to use that money to invest in greenhouse
One of the
green energies and
highest
stuff. And so, yeah.
grossing oil and natural gas production companies in this country is fucking Enron. They have the monopoly. They are if you get a fucking job with Enron, you are fucking in. They also took the least amount of job loss when the fucking bubble bust. They took the least the least amount, and they're one of the only companies still putting rigs out in a time where companies are stacking rigs at record numbers.
And the fact that Enron, the name still exists, genuinely, I believe, unbelievable.
Enron moved from the whole Dick Cheney war profit thing into oil. And you ain't getting fucking nowhere without Enron being slapped on a fucking rig somewhere.
And so as we walk away from the segment, for me, the one big thing that I got out of this is that we have to look at what is the environmental damage. And from what we've discussed, to me, and again, we'll throw all the links into the description. To me, it says there's more environmental damage than we're getting positives out of this. And so the bigger question is why the fuck aren't we looking into green resources? Why are we? And that's a topic for another episode because if you get me going on that, I'll go to the point where I even think the government should start funding some of these green processes because we need this so much faster than we can imagine. Because I don't want my kids to have to grow up in a fallout world,
Right. But what worries me about that is we start looking into green and how long before these corporations start taking this over too.
Well, that's a natural thing. But if a monopoly is going to happen in a green energies versus a non-renewable, you know what? We're going to have to deal with that.
We're going to control a bunch of fans out in a fucking field somewhere. Woo!
Yeah. So I mean, we'll work our way into the next topic, which will be probably down to that futuristic type stuff. We're going to deal with voting with your heart, or voting with just party lines.
And so we are. When we come back after this really quick, short commercial break, we're going to talk about the two-party system, whether we should be for it or against it, and we're going to have a conversation about what do we do when it comes down to situations which may happen in 2016 where we have a Democrat we may not care for as much, but we definitely don't fucking want that Republican in because either one of the two headliners are not people I care for. So when we come right back, we're going to get everybody's opinionated opinion on the two-party system. We'll be right back, everyone.
This is Trav Mamone, host of the By Any Means podcast, and you're listening to Cellar Door Skeptics. Prepare for the revolution. We have cookies.
Looking for something new and exciting, or maybe just a change from the old atheist show format? Cellar Door Skeptics podcast provides listeners with hours of enjoyment each week on Spreaker and iTunes. Check us out as we talk politics, religion, science, reviews of books and music, along with the occasional interview just for a twist. Join Christopher Tanner and Chris Hanna every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern as they bring fresh content to you. Walk with us through the cellar door as we help you prepare for the revolution. You can find us on Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, and even on Facebook.
Now, back to the show.
As we come back for the last segment, probably going to be the most politically charged, emotional segment you've ever heard on Cellar Door Skeptics.
Well, maybe not completely, because we lost our Canadian leg of this party here. He's gone.
So
He's just gone.
the emotional instability aspect has now left the building.
But that's okay. We'll invite Keith back on to give his reflections to an empty room at some point.
I'm still here.
Yeah,
I'm
we
still
still have
here.
Jen, and she's the most powerful voice on the podcast anyway. So
Well, Jen also said earlier in this show that the reason she works is because she has Keith. So now she is running solo. We'll see what she gives.
And so if you're listening to this right now and you understand this is our first episode for the new year, make sure you go ahead and check out our wonderful guests tonight. They have a webpage, a Facebook page, and you can find them on iTunes if you would like to. And they
We're
have
also
a
on Podbean. We are also on Podbean. Also,
on Podbean.
yes.
You can find them on Podbean as well. So make sure you check out Not Another Atheist Podcast. Again, this will probably be the last plug, but I had to throw a last plug in there because we always kind of say, hey, where can you find them? I'll throw all your links in the description, but it's been a wonderful experience. But the best part that's going to happen right now is we get to have a conversation about whether the two-party system works and what the fuck we should do if we get a Hillary versus Donald
Move.
Trump.
That's what we should fucking do. Fucking move. That's what we should do.
Conversation, because it's important. This is an important conversation though, because I'll be honest, I've been on the fence. I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been on one time where I say, hey, I'm not going to vote. I'm going to vote my heart. And then I've been on the other side of the fence where it's like, well, why the fuck should I do that? Because in the end, if I ruin it for the Democrat, then what's going to happen is the Republican side of it's going to be so bad I can't handle it. When they don't vote for equality, I can't handle the Republican side. I can't touch it. It's a big no-no to me. The financial side I can argue with and be a little bit more conservative, but once we move into that social aspect, I can't stand 80% of the fucking Republican Party, and I hate the fucking Tea Party. So my question to the group is, and we'll go around the table, because I think we may even have Keith back. We're going to go around the table.
I am here.
You are there. And we're going to talk about, would you vote your heart, or should you vote for what we'll call the greater good?
Oh, God.
Well, I'll start this one off because
Please
I have been fighting with this one. I have been seriously fighting with this one. One of the guys that we used to interact with regularly, Atheist Analysis, a guy named John. I'm not going to say his last name because he never wanted us to publish it.
Mosman. I'll say it.
No, it isn't Mosman. It isn't Mosman.
Savage.
He used to write for us regularly, and he was a very, very good writer. And JW was what we called him at the time, and he really loves the universal wage idea. He's very socialistic on some things, and he battles back in certain areas. And he posted something, and I tried to refute it. I tried to read what he said and kind of go against what he was saying. And I was like, and he said that he would vote an independent. He would vote for the Libertarian Party, or I think it's Jill Stein who's running. She ran last time.
She was green, I believe. She's the Green Party.
Yeah, and so I mean, he's like, I'll put my vote there because I think that the American people if we lose everything, we're gonna get the Republican mess, and we're gonna see in the 4 years that we've created this utter horrible thing, and then we'll make the smart decision in 4 more years, and then vote in whoever would be running. Like, let's say, like maybe Elizabeth Warren or something. And the conundrum that I ran into was, well, I know. Well, the conundrum that I ran into was, can the American people and the American government survive a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and a Republican executive branch in coercion, doing all of the things that are horrible? They would immediately do. To lend into the next presidential election, or would I be throwing away my vote? And I keep saying that as much as I disagree with Hillary Clinton and I support Bernie Sanders, that I still would probably support Hillary Clinton because she is, in my eyes, no different than like the standard quo, like exactly what you would expect from what has become of the American political system. And so that's kind of what I was. I can't see how I would vote third party if there wasn't a solid option to really make a difference in what I was saying. Like I mean I know Jen, you're probably fighting the same battle.
Yeah, but in such a different way. Like, this is like an actual personal crisis for me. Like, this is going against everything that's at my core, which is, fuck what I'm expected to do. I voted for Jill Stein in the last election. I did, because I really felt that my voice needed to go to where I thought it would matter. But we're at this really, really weird fucking point in this country where we're at the do or die moment. And I do fear that if we do wind up with a Republican president, that would be the ultimate suppression to any kind of change that we could have hoped for. And we're just gonna, it's like the climate debate,
It turns into a theocracy. It turns.
Well, but we're at our tipping point moment. And if we do wind up with somebody like Trump, or with Trump in office, that's going to be the spiral, and that's going to be the suppression of any kind of hope that we had. But I do not like Hillary. I will personally use the term, I think she's a fucking scumbag. I think Hillary plays to whatever crowd is in front of her based on her voting record. And what I worry about with her is she tells the Democrats what they want to hear, which is the same shit Bernie Sanders has been saying for the last 20 years. This ain't nothing new that we're fucking hearing. But she's also flip-flopped on gay marriage. She's flip-flopped on the Iraq War. She's flip-flopped on the TPP. So what's to say that if she doesn't get in front of a fucking Republican House, that she's not going to bend to what they say to keep the peace like she's been doing with her fucking crowds? I don't trust this bitch. I don't fucking trust her. I don't. I think she's a fucking scumbag, and I think she plays to whoever's in front of her.
Yeah,
a little bit less.
I'm gonna disagree with you though on that. I mean, I do get that Hillary plays to her crowd, and I do get that there's no way that she's going to ever turn over and roll over and become a Republican, no matter how much big money's behind her.
But part of her voting record already has.
Well, she used to be a Republican.
She's voted moderate. She's moved. She's a moderate.
Yeah.
Her husband was.
I don't consider someone that turns around and says gay marriage is between a man and a woman, who's for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and who's constantly been for putting more boots on the fucking ground in a war that's unwinnable, anything but a fucking Republican. The bitch is a fucking is a Republican and Democrat.
So Bernie's pro-war too. So we could talk
Bernie's
about that all day long.
Bernie's pro-war when there's absolutely no other option. He's an absolute pacifist.
He's voted many times to help out Israel, and we should not get the fucking involved with Israel.
I do disagree with Bernie on Israel. I disagree with a lot of politicians.
Most of us do. It's actually a pretty consistent thing.
Which is weird, because you think liberals are for Israel.
He's the cultural Jew.
But then again, he's a Jew from Brooklyn. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
You guys actually have to go to Brooklyn to really get the full fucking effect of a Jew from Brooklyn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I disagree with the Hillary comment. I get that she does vote party line, and then she does cross that line. There's nothing to be afraid of. She's not going to turn into the Republican. I mean,
I just see her.
Not only would she be the first woman president,
who gives a shit?
You cannot give a shit. To me, that's actually very important. To me, I would like to see more ethnicities, more minorities actually step up, because I'm getting sick of seeing some of that. But I wouldn't vote for her though just because of that. But the difference becomes is she's now going to be put in the limelight, in a very high priority limelight, and she's not going to just flip around and turn out to be a Republican. That's not going to happen.
I'm not saying that she's going to flip and turn Republican. What I'm saying is that I am afraid that she is going to compromise a lot.
But so did Obama. Obama fucking compromised all sorts. Yes, he did.
I think she's going to go beyond that point to try to prove the point that, see, a Democrat can work with a Republican House. Mm-hmm. And I think she'll do it to keep the peace, just because she seems. This is a personal thing with me. I get this very one-up vibe from her, and I feel like a lot of it has to do with, well, look at me, I'm a woman and I could do it better. So I think she's going to be way easier to play into the hands of a Republican House, just so that she can turn around and say that she handled it better than Obama could, and that she got her house under control more than he did.
I know, but you have to look at okay. So we have to look at the large political spectrum, and this is why I have a harder time.
You're dealing with the government major here, so I'm just
our government sucks. Our government sucks dick, right? It's horrible. But the problem becomes is that we do have to look at is it more logical for her to get the seat because she will be able to get more accomplished even if it's not as much as I want. We have to understand. We have to accept that.
She's going to get as much accomplished as everyone's claiming that she's going to. I don't think it's going to be much of a change at all. I don't think we're going to see much of a change at all.
More than likely, it wouldn't be much of a change. It would kind of be a keeping of the same pace that we've got now. So
I see this as just an extension of the Obama administration.
Yeah, she would be an extension of the Obama administration in that he has made a pretty significant number of he's made commiserations and kind of come down to the expectations. The Affordable Care Act and its
I have
concessions
huge issues
towards
with the Affordable Care Act, but
it's concessions. The concessions for the insurance industry and stuff. They're so powerful, so big that Hillary would kind of keep that thing going. And the question is, would someone like Bernie Sanders, who is so ideological to the point where, I mean, his ideology is great, but would he just be never-endingly battling the powers that be in the other two branches of the government? And I understand what Chris is saying, that Hillary is more than likely going to be able to find the middle and just kind of make nothing really important happen, but just kind of keep what we've had.
But I think that we can't do that anymore.
I know, and that's why I support Bernie.
The country can't do it.
I know. That's why I support Bernie, and I really want him to just slap everybody in the face. But
and be like, what the fuck are you thinking?
If it comes to it, it's like Bernie doesn't win, and it's Hillary versus whoever the Reds have up. Like,
this is my personal conflict, because there is something about this woman that just, and this is coming from a person who majored in government and who studied this and who knows this in depth and in detail. There is something about this woman that
her real estate history makes me uncomfortable.
There's something about her that the pit of my stomach, I just don't trust her. There's just something about her where it's just snake. It's almost akin to Cheney.
Yeah, Hitchens' book about Clinton brings in a little bit about Hillary, and his second edition brings in more about Hillary. But the Clinton book, the Hitchens book about the Clintons, I cannot remember the name of it right now. But it is it's one of the most adverse towards the Clinton family that I definitely would recommend taking a look at.
I kind of see her as like my ex-husband's mother.
She's an opportunist. She's an opportunist.
She's not even so much of an opportunist, and I think a lot of this kind of happened in her house as well. To where she's
I'm on.
Yeah, we're talking, dude.
Yes, you made it. Welcome back.
I made it back.
The Canadian.
By the way, the book you're thinking of is No One Left to Lie To.
Everyone's dead. It's like 28 weeks later in Canada.
Her first instinct is to make the bed, so to speak. Get at least get the top cover on so that it looks okay, and it's a mind thing with her. It has to be okay. It has to be calm, and I think she ignores a lot of the fucked up bedding underneath it to just kind of placate the top. And it's like, and this is what we've been doing. We've been throwing this blanket, throwing this blanket, throwing this blanket, throwing this blanket over the mounds of shit that we have.
Okay, so the question then comes in: how do you change that? So you have to look at the realistic side of it. And there's a quote by somebody named Eugene Debs, right? And he says it is better to vote for what you want and not get it than to vote for what you do not want and get it.
Get that. The one thing I can say as far as Trump, yes, it would be a move in the bad direction, but he would make a fucking move. It would be a move in the completely wrong, backwards, holy shit, what the fuck have we done? It's Hitler direction. But he would still make a fucking move. I don't see her making any kind of moves. And I think this country is at a point that we cannot stand still anymore.
That's the parallel that a lot of people have been drawing. It's with the Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump market, so to speak. There's just like an angry populace of people who aren't the standard, flag-bearing regulars for voting. And so they're saying, well, is there a cross acceptance between the groups? And there was a great Address the Nation, I believe it was. There's an interview that recently came out with Bernie Sanders, and he says they asked him. They said, "Well, do you think there's a place where you can meet in the middle with the Republican people who are supporters of Donald Trump?" And he said, "Yes, I believe there is." The big thing is, like, Donald Trump has said that he thinks wages are too high in the United States. He said this twice, and you can see these in the interviews that are mentioned. And those kinds of things will resonate with the middle Americans who are super pissed off and support Trump. And the other end, obviously, is going to be the whether or not Islamic Americans are going to be an absolute danger for society.
And that's Jewish V2?
But that's a distraction from society and from all the important things and what it makes for Americans to be comfortable and live a comfortable, happy life with taxes and all that kind of good stuff.
Well, God, what I mentioned actually on my Facebook page was that you do have the option to write in.
Yes, I know. Yes, we do.
You do have that.
You can write in even if Bernie doesn't win the nomination, but that's another thing. Like,
but that would also
be tossing your vote away.
My course of action is, I don't want to jump the bridge. I want to see what does happen during the primaries, because Bernie isn't like Ron Paul. We're seeing momentum come from him that we have never seen before.
Yeah.
At least not in this generation, at least not that I can remember. If he does not win the primary, I want to look at the voting, the way the voting is going first, before I make a solid decision on what I'm going to do and who I'm going to vote for. I'm not voting for Trump, obviously.
What? Why not?
Keith, are you going to vote for Trump?
Oh my God! This cannot be a 4-hour show.
We can't have a 17-hour show.
Think about this. Here's the one reason to vote for
Trump. I mean,
to be fair, I have spent like the last 20 minutes in total radio silence because my computer has been a fussy little bitch. So it's high time that I say something stupid.
Here is something that every one of our listeners needs to remember. Why do we need to vote for Bernie? Because watching a Brooklyn Jew and a Queens fucking rich boy go at it on the fucking debate stage is going to be the most epic shit we've ever fucking seen happen.
And one of those guys is probably going to be much, much, much more conducive of a Google Fiber and Comcast losing its fucking monopoly.
And that's another thing I don't trust about Hillary is her fucking sponsors. She's so bought and paid for. And it's no more evident than CNN, who used to be the leading liberal.
I saw a statistic the other day that said that in the next few years that the top 4 of 12 people who are in charge of the Fed will be former Goldman Sachs employees or CEOs. So 1/3 of the top 12 dudes who run the Fed will be of one company in the past. Think who they're going to benefit and keep track of. And
one company who was saved and was considered too big to fail. You're going to leave these fucking people in charge of our fucking monetary system.
And so, like, the only guy who's willing to take that on, like, Donald Trump is willing to take on the bullshit because he skips the middleman. He is the 1%. And that's why everybody's
like,
oh,
he only takes on the bullshit that benefits him.
Yeah.
And his interest. And that's what I worry about with Hillary, is that she takes on the bullshit that benefits her in the fucking moment.
It's the politics. And Bernie's been yelling about the same shit for 30 years. He's been arrested for fighting for civil rights.
Does this guy get any fucking cooler? I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, I will say that the stuff we're gonna talk about some stuff that in the future, in the next couple of weeks, or at least in the next week or so. We got some new stuff about prisons, about the private prison complex, and the Vermont prison complex and stuff. We're gonna look into it. We got some cool tips and find out. It's like, hey, because we did a critique on Bernie and on Hillary's college tuition stuff last week. Or 2 weeks ago, depending on when
comes out.
Yeah, when this particularly comes out. And so we talked about the differences between Hillary and Bernie as far as their educational systems and the benefits and the cons. But this could be another situation where, like, Bernie has been railing against the private political or the private prison systems. Well, we don't really know what his past is on that, and I've seen some stuff that makes me question it. So we need to look into it and find out. And hey, if we got to question Bernie, we got to question Bernie. I don't give a shit who's being questioned.
Bernie will fucking answer you.
Yeah, he probably will.
Bernie will fucking answer you. Now the question I believe that Chris posed earlier
And I would
was,
squeal like a little girl if Bernie answered me. I really
I
would.
know, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I would so be a huge fangirl if we were at that point.
My Christmas gift this year, my wife bought me 4 Bernie Sanders bumper stickers and a Bernie Sanders t-shirt. Yeah, it was pretty fucking sick.
Who's up to moving to
Holy dick
Vermont?
riding.
Who's up to moving to Vermont just to meet the man? I am. Anyway, I believe Chris posed the question: would Bernie spend his entire term coming up against his Republican House?
Coming.
Well,
phrasing.
Battling his Republican House. I think that if he can implement the plans, and I hate to say this because I fucking hate the term, but I think he's going to have to use executive order in a lot of instances coming up against his house. I think that once people start seeing the momentum of what's going on and how it is benefiting everyone, no matter what the party lines, that's going to start waking people up and saying, wait a minute, we're benefiting from this. We're making money from this. Our kids are better off from this. So what the fuck is wrong with these guys that we put in the fucking house that are against this? Why are they against this? I think his momentum of change and his plan of change is what's needed to wake people up as a whole to realize what the fuck they're doing. And that is what's going to bring on the change as far as the House and the Senate. Yeah. Is that people are going to become more aware of it. And no, it's not going to be an immediate fix. It's not going to immediately happen. But things like this that are truly successful never do immediately happen. Because if it does spark, it's fucking chaos, and then it goes to shit. Hello, Iraq. Hello,
so we haven't heard from the man in the Canada shirt. Actually, he's not in the Canada shirt. He's in the community shirt. He's from Canada.
All Canadians wear shirts.
Wait, but how biased can he really be when they're pretty much the socialist model anyway?
That's true. But we have to hear his opinion. Come on. And I like your shirt, and I wish I could have one of those too. By the way, I have the one with the little characters from the 8-bit video game.
Oh, that's
episode.
Awesome!
That's my
that
shirt.
is amazing.
That's my.
My sister got me this for Christmas like 3 years ago. I treasure it. It's tough. I mean, this is, in all honesty, like everything that I've heard come out of the Republican Party scares the living shit out of me. Like it's just it's an echo chamber of some of the most ignorant backwater bullshit I think I've ever heard in my life. And keep in mind, I've grown up around rednecks. I've heard some pretty ignorant bullshit. You know,
God damn it.
Yeah, we's from the South. We's don't say use alls or none of that high class fancy edumacations. No, we say y'all and yeehaw. And
no, the proper term, Keith, is we's from the South and we poor and we live in poverty, but we're gonna keep voting Republican because he's white.
No,
and he's a Christian.
They're not that self-aware. Come on now.
That's terrible.
No,
fuck you. I live here. I can say that.
I can't actually really discuss politics in my family. My father openly admitted, he goes, "Oh, I'd vote for Trump," because he's very ideological in that regard. He hates the Democrats with a passion, even though he agrees with them on most everything. It's just because he doesn't like the fact that global warming might actually be a thing. That's pretty well is about the only thing, is because he's worried about them killing the oil industry.
It sounds like my old co-host Joseph Casper. He's a Wyoming kid, and his family is, I mean, obviously they're Mormon, so they were always battling with that aspect. But he said that one of the biggest things that drew them away from a conservative or from a liberal perspective or from a more progressive perspective was that they were, I'm against completely being Democrat, just on perspective, just party lines or whatever. It's just the oil. That's the biggest thing. It's like global warming isn't just like this imaginary thing.
That's actually one of my internal conflicts, is because when the oil industry does well, obviously we all know ex-husband, child support, blah 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 blah. My pockets do better. My pockets obviously do better when the oil industry goes well, but it's still in the back of my head that's like, bitch, this is wrong. This is fucked up. Why are you trying to ignore this shit?
Exactly.
That is an interesting. That's an interesting conundrum.
But at least you can acknowledge the fact that there's a bit of cognitive dissonance in there, which most people don't. I sit here, I struggle with a lot of shit because I'm sitting there, and again, coming from a fairly ideologically right-wing background. Grade 12, I wrote a speech saying, global warming's bullshit, blah, blah, blah. We know what's happening. Yeah, it got bad. It got bad.
Chris's face was great.
Oh,
and I thought my Jew-ish sort of upbringing was tough. Man, you guys did the conservative stuff, man. I never had to deal with that. I keep telling people it's like, oh, I never really had any kind of belief at all. I can't imagine dealing with the kind of like binary system that you had. You actually gave speeches that you were like, yes.
I did. It was a project in school once. Yeah. Ooh. Not my finest hour, but I did it. I went there, and I'm now, trying to rectify that. What the hell was there's another shining moment that I did. Fuck. Well, I guess I kind of got to go back to our show. Is one thing that I've done because I'm too lazy to actually commit to a blog is every other episode or so I bring out what's called my soapbox, where I kind of preach about something. Typically it stems from a conversation that I had with my family, and one of the first ones, it was about, it was shortly after marriage equality came through. My dad for years, was all, he very much goes along with the idea that, it's a gateway. All it's going to do is, somebody's going to be able to marry their dog, blah, blah, blah. And for years I kind of was like, I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know. And
sorry, I just have a word in my head right there.
Yeah, I don't. I try not to think about it.
You said gateway, and I'm like, to what? Delicious dicks?
I don't want to think about my dad eating delicious dicks. He can do what he wants, but anyways, that's my old man. And in it, I openly say, in this conversation, they were upset because, the fact that the rainbow was fucking everywhere. I had to look at them. I was like, tough. Like, you are pretty much represented by 90% of what you see everywhere. Why is them having their moment in the sun? Why is that a negative? Why is that so bad? So
it's like the slippery slope. It's like it's not Adam and Eve. It's Adam and Fido. It's like they always say, we're gonna be marrying our dogs, and we're gonna be marrying our horses and whatever. It's like,
I never understood that. I'm like
if you're worried about your woman marrying a horse, it's because you're really insecure about your dick.
Like what? You better watch that peanut butter. If you think Fido's gonna come take your wife, you better be monitoring that peanut butter and them crackers up in your pantry.
As long as it's only the smooth peanut butter and not chunky.
Fido gonna come take your woman. You best to watch how she buying that peanut butter and them crackers. Fido gonna come take your woman.
So I have to admit, that's kind of the background I'm coming from. But
that's hard, man.
It is.
And we have similar backgrounds, though, too. I grew up in the same aspect. I didn't have to write as political speeches. More of mine were religious motivated. But I mean, I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh. It was like a staple. I didn't hear Rush Limbaugh every day. My life wasn't complete. And I remember being like, I think I was 14 or 15 years old, and my dad and I having to argue about this. And I shouldn't say this because now my mom wants to listen to my podcast, and she's not going to become one of the new viewers.
Don't fucking say it.
But
dude, I
grew up listening to
my mom binge listens to mine, and I'm like mortified now. I'm like,
oh my god, seriously?
Oh my god.
But we used to talk about the issue of whether we should have affirmative. I can't even say the fucking word now. It's so late. But basically, my dad didn't believe that African Americans were being discriminated against, and this is back in the 90s. And he used to yell at the radio. He used to yell at Clinton, be like, affirmative action is stupid, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, Dad, if they have less chance of getting this, just because you grew up poor and overcame the odds, you have a higher chance you would do that.
Right.
You do. You're fucking white.
Mm-hmm.
It's
the same kind of argument against the voting thing that we talked about earlier. I mean, really, it's you only make a little bit of money every week. Well, and if you take a day off, there's a good chance you might not be able to feed your kids for one day this week. You're probably not going to go vote. You're probably not going to go vote.
Exactly. And the best part is, and this came up at my work, right? The company I work for didn't pay us for Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. And every other company I've worked for has done that. And so I questioned it. And I said, does your workers know that they're going to have 1 day of unpaid? They can't come into the company we work for because they're closed, but yet they're not going to get paid. Well, salaried people, they'll get paid. And it's like, well, hold on. I don't care about salaried people. I'm thinking about the people that work underneath me, the people that are out on the floor doing the grunt work, the people that are doing all these things. And I sit there and I think, well, what the fuck?
What do they get?
This person, what does he got? We sat there and had that conversation. Well, I'm only going to get 3 days pay when I should be getting 5. You know how hard that is to around Christmas time to feed it? And this whole thing hit home, and it's just like, well, so they came to me and they're like, well, we want to give you a bonus. And I was like, well, why don't you take the bonus and give it to everybody else? And they're like, well, we can't do that because these things. So now they're giving me this fucking bonus, and I feel guilty as hell. I don't. It's not that I don't need the money, but it's just that there's all these other people that had to take paid days off or unpaid days off. And I got lucky. I saved my vacation time, so I was able to do that. I'm able to get paid for this. But these other people haven't. And I have a friend that, works with me, and he lives on, the $11 an hour salary. He has to live that. His life is built on that. And I sit there and I feel bad for these people. And I agree with you. Jen, I was giving you shit earlier, right? You have to vote with your heart.
She probably deserved it.
No, she didn't deserve it. She challenged me, and I agree with you because I have a very hard time, and this kind of goes back a couple of episodes, but I have a very hard time moving away from some of those fear-based tactics. I grew up in fear. My fear-based tactic is that
you're kind of conditioned.
Yes.
And you try to be conscious about it, but there's that.
It's always there.
Programming conditioning.
Yeah, and for me, it's if I go vote for my heart, right? Let's say Bernie doesn't do it and Jill Stein runs, and I want to vote for Jill Stein, which she fits closer to my socialistic views than anybody, even Bernie does for the most part. But we have to acknowledge that I had a hard time, and I do still have a hard time going, hey, I'm not going to go vote for Hillary. I don't agree with Hillary on a lot of things. I was anti-Hillary well before it was popular to be anti-Hillary because I was anti-Hillary because she was involved in Walmart. I hate Walmart with such a passion, and I've protested against Walmart for fucking years. But
damn right.
For me, it all comes down to, what do we do now? Do we need to let the revolution happen? I mean, what do we talk about on our show?
Yes.
Should we just let that
we need
happen?
to roll out the red fucking carpet for it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't allow that, where is that going to put us at? And Bernie has this great quote, right? And he says, they told white workers who are earning pennies in hours, hey, you think you're in trouble, but you're better off than the blacks. And they told straight people, you're better off than those gay people. And they pitted men against women. It's always playing one group against another. That's how the rich got richer while everybody else was fighting with each other. Our job is to build a nation in which we all stand together. And if we have to take a sentiment and we have to leave the episode with anything, that is it.
That's what I
think. And this is what I think that the country needs to wake up and understand is that you don't understand that the reason why they keep us fighting in front of each other, the reason why they keep us fighting is because we have to deal with the fight in front of us before we look at the fucking man behind the curtain. So
And while it's
the
a little
problem
conspiracy,
constant.
And they all look like Keith.
Yeah,
fucking Canadians invaded our
we
government.
need to turn around and say,
I kind of have to agree with Jen on that. It's
we really need to turn around and say, wait a minute. It's like teenage girls. It's like a group of teenage girls.
Don't do that. I'm gonna have a teenage girl soon. I don't want to know how bad they are.
Let me tell you, because teenage girls are fucked up, man. But it's like a group of teenage
that's pretty
girls.
sexist, dude. That's a pretty sexist thing to say.
It's like a group of teenage girls. You get that one fucking kingpin leader that just sits there and kind of likes to watch her little minions fight amongst themselves because it's entertaining for her. And the more they fight amongst themselves, the less they realize of how much of a bitch she's being. This is what they're doing. And when we turn around and say, wait a minute, you're struggling, I'm struggling, who the fuck is making us struggle? That's when the light bulb moment is. So they're going to create more conflict to make sure that we are distracted to that point. You know what? Black and white people are now starting to work together. So now we got to hate the Muslims.
Man, you know what?
goddamn Muslims.
Yeah, so
This sounds very Trotskyist. I don't know if you guys all dealt with any of the Trotsky moments at all, or in the movements in the past, but you should check it out. You probably like Trotsky a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like
So before we leave, Jen, Keith, has been a wonderful time. Make sure you guys
Thank you.
and girls
Plug your
say
stuff. Plug it.
You get 10 seconds each to say whatever the fuck you want to say and to promote your show. Go.
We say fuck a lot. I talk about sex and I talk about my pussy all the fucking time. Listen to our shit.
My dick comes up occasionally, so that's pretty cool. Shit, pressure. Don't do drugs. Wait, no, don't buy drugs. Become a pop star because then they give them to you for free. Does that work?
There we go. So
feel the burn in your ovaries. Make it change your kids. Feel the burn in the ovaries.
Sorry.
I don't want to feel the burn in my ovaries.
I guess
That's
I should
how we
say
change
where all
the
we can be found.
future. That's where we change the future. You feel the burn in the ovaries. It affects the future kids. They come out loving the burn. Boom. Social change.
That's called multi-generational chlamydia.
That's the future. The future of redheads. That there's the 5,000 redheads that take over the world.
All right.
Sorry. I guess you said you wanted us to say where we could be found.
Yeah.
Sure. Tell everybody where they can get a hold of you or check.
Okay. So I'll let Jen talk about her Twitter handle. Mine is @AnAtheist in YYC, all one word. It doesn't really matter. I don't post a lot of cool shit.
Dude, do you remember what my Twitter handle is? Because I don't.
Something insomnia_mama or something like that.
Thank you.
Our show can be found Not Another Atheist Podcast.wordpress.com, Not Another Atheist Podcast on iTunes, on Podbean. Also, this is brand new. I haven't even announced it on our show. We're also on Stitcher now.
Yes.
So look for us. Look for us on Stitcher. Look for us on Facebook. Wherever podcasts live, we're probably there. We're not quite on Spreaker yet, but that costs money, I think.
Yeah, and I'm a single mom, so I'm broke because I live in America, and I'm a single mom, so yeah.
I'm a university student who
Vote for Bernie.
Paid for university.
Vote for Bernie so we can afford Spreaker.
All right, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will post all the links
for having us.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you for letting us ruin your show.
Yeah. you can't ruin anything on our show, so because
he can edit it out.
We can edit it out. So next week, make sure everybody sticks tuned for me talking about why men need feminism. We're going to talk to an individual that I personally admire. She goes out of her way to work at abortion clinics to help escort people into the abortion clinics. And I thought it would be a good story to talk about because she's from the South and she's doing this in her free time. She doesn't even get paid to do this.
Oh, is that Zandy?
Yes. Damn it. All right, give it away, Keith. It is.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, and so I thought it would be a good intimate time to have a conversation with her because what she does is something that's very under-recognized. And I think as we continue to move forward in the fight against the pro-lifers or the whatever the hell you want to call them, the anti-choicers, we need to find other aspects in other areas. And so there you go. And her story seemed it really touched my heart. It was something I wanted to share with everybody. And then we'll end that show next week with The Game of Life, a Conway computer simulation. And then make sure you guys stick around because we will have an episode where I debate a presuppositional apologist. That will happen. And we'll also probably try and get a Not Another Atheist Podcast to join us next month at some point for another hour or 2 hour long.
I would merge both our shows and just do one massive podcast.
6 hours of chatting.
Oh my god.
All right, so thank you guys and girls so much for joining us. Thank you again. Make sure
Thank you for having us.
Check us out on Spreaker. Check us out on iTunes. You can sponsor us on Patreon because we donate any money that's given to us that we haven't gotten yet to charity, and we will make sure that we try and help make the world a better place for everybody's children and grandchildren to live in. And remember this. Prepare for the revolution because it will come whether you want it to or not. Have a good night, everyone.
You've been listening to a presentation of Cellar Door Skeptics. Check us out on Spreaker, cellardoorskeptics.com.